Hello everyone, welcome to the PIPCAST 3000. I'm Caedo Genesis, and I'm joined by not bad Company Sarge this time, but instead by our stand-in co-host, William Strife.
Hello. I have a cat in my lap who is being very demanding right now.
Yes, so. Ratchet is very cute. And this is a bi-weekly podcast. We talk about gaming and usually have a Bethesda-centric thing, often focusing on Fallout. And in this episode, 132, we're going to be talking about uniques, because Will Strife and I have a lot of history with uniques, particularly uniques in Fallout New Vegas, is what we're probably going to be kind of circling back to a lot with the main topic. But we do have a couple news topics first. The comments of the cast, say comments, because we actually got one in Spotify for podcasters, so we're going to get into that in just a second. Thank you to Wasteland Legends, Sven, and Rose. And if you're on the YouTube side, the B-roll is probably going to be some classic Fallout stuff. I don't have any New Vegas footage that's recent in the pipe, even in the right format to use. So I hope that classic Fallout or Fallout 3 footage is fine. I'll just say, that'd be weird if it was Fallout 3. That'd be kind of funny, actually, and ironic. Well, since this is technically for the Spotify listeners, maybe this is their first kind of taste of hearing you on the show. Can you tell them what you are known for, and also maybe what you do now, because they might be different things?
I am a OG YouTuber who got their start making initially Oblivion videos, but then got a lot of traction with Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, specifically, where to find weapons. That was probably the biggest thing that I ended up doing for the Fallout videos, for the Fallout games. Unique weapons specifically. And since then, I went on and have had illustrious career. That may be a stretching of the word, but I went on to do a lot of other things on YouTube, and these days, it's a little bit more homely, as it were, and I'm more quiet with the content than I used to be. Opinion pieces do not, notwithstanding. So,
And you stream?
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course. Yes, I stream. Yeah. Like, streaming is way more important of a thing that I do on a regular basis than uploading to YouTube these days. I try with YouTube. Oh boy, my standards for quality. It's like I either entirely phone it in by doing an opinion piece where it's like, well, let's just slap some footage over it, or it's like, oh my god, like why did you put so much work into this? So those are my two options. Meanwhile, I stream over on Twitch, and as of late, I've been playing through Final Fantasy games. God, it's an RPG year. It's an RPG year for me.
Yes.
So.
Oh yes, sir, it is. So yeah. Thank you for giving everybody a refresher, and for anybody listening, we grabbed comments from the previous episode, so if you want to be a comment of the cast, leave a comment on the YouTube side or Spotify for podcasters side. I guess it's specifically that section of Spotify. I still don't fully understand all of it, but it's working. Can you take the first comment of the cast, and I'll take the second one?
Okay, so this first one is from Spotify, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so Kodiak says, love this change. Big things in the making. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and I don't know if Kodiak was an original listener or just joined from Spotify, but I also, I don't know what that helmet icon is, but spelling Kodiak, Codyack, is really great. So
it's original, but also like the helmet, like it makes me think of Kodlak from Skyrim.
Oh, a little
and
bit.
For some reason, I don't like. Again, this is a small icon, but it looks like the helmet.
It looks like an Elder Scrolls helmet.
It looks like the Imperial Guard helmet to some degree.
Yeah.
To some degree, that's what it looks like. I don't know what it is, but that's what I'm imagining.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the props, Kodiak. We're gonna keep doing this until, I don't know, something catastrophic happens and Spotify is no longer an option. But also
sooner than you may imagine.
We'll see. Tifa Luckhart also left a comment. She's a pretty regular in my Discord as well. She says, NGL, not gonna lie, the thumbnail is pretty damn epic. I appreciate a good monster. Keep up the good work. Or great work, sorry.
Okay, so you have to explain to me what the thumbnail was because I haven't seen it.
Okay. I can actually probably just send you a screenshot if I had it up still and didn't close the tab.
That would make utter sense, but like the people on Spotify can't see anything
I
because it's an
know.
audio only
So
platform.
I'm gonna bring it up and also explain it to the people on Spotify.
See, I can segue.
This is the photo I grabbed from Fallout 76. It is a glowing Deathclaw that.
Okay, I was gonna ask, is that like the Pip-Boy light or?
I think my Pip-Boy light is actually. I think that's at the point to where I altered it to where it was white again. So, like,
okay.
But I also, this is Fallout 76's photo mode, so you can, add filters and colors and stuff like that. I think I ramped up, like saturation or put some kind of like rad filter over the top of it to make it even more green.
So is that this is basically an irradiated Deathclaw that we're looking at?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah,
like
glowing Deathclaw.
For anyone on Spotify, it's like, yeah, you know how glowing ones can look in Fallout? Well, yeah, we've kind of got that going on for a Deathclaw.
Yeah, and I mean, if they're familiar with Fallout 4 also, like glowing enemies exist in other forms, so...
I mean, like, what's come to define the glowing enemy for me is just the game 7 Days to Die, because I've been playing so much of that. Mm-hmm. Any enemy can be glowing and irradiated at some point, if you're at a late enough game stage, so...
Yep. But that's a screenshot I really liked. Unfortunately, this was one of my this must have been after like the Settlers and Raider or Wastelanders happened, because I'm wearing the Raider mask that you get from it. But I think the reason I was able to get this shot was because the Deathclaw was actually just like it was already dead or something, and it was just stuck in that position.
Deathclaw.
It was
okay.
a very Bethesda situation where it's just like, man, this could look cool though with the photo.
Like, I look at this picture and I'm like, well, he either panic smashed a button real fast and at the opportune moment was like, oh, hey, photo mode exists. I guess I'll just take advantage of this.
Yeah.
No, you defined a way more Bethesda scenario for this to come to pass.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But of course there are like action shots that I've gotten too. Like this Scorch Beast about to slap me in the face.
Woo.
It depends on the situation. I had one where there was like 3 of us trying to get a photo with a behemoth, and he was just like smacking all of us while somebody was trying to take a camera picture.
Ragdolling over and over.
There's some fun to be had in 76. Some shenanigans to...
I mean, behemoths are basically Fallout's version of the Skyrim giant. So
yeah, very much so.
As everybody knows the experience with the Skyrim giant. Just get near it and, I'm going to space.
Yeah, had to include a clip of that in my leveling guide when I caught an NPC getting hit by it. Okay, well, now that we got the comments, thank you for the comments. Make sure to leave a comment on the YouTube side or on Spotify for podcasters. It might be another...
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
I guess
it helps the channel.
Yeah, I guess you can add stars or whatever on Spotify or something.
You don't understand how their algorithm works.
I'm not doing a good job at this. But yeah, we have a couple of news topics. We've narrowed down or what's the right word? Immersion. That's sometimes the right word. We've whittled down what we have for news topics for future episodes, just for posterity's sake too, because a lot of people are here often for the topic, and the gaming news doesn't have very long shelf life, as I was telling Will yesterday when we were kind of going over what I have changed in the show since he's been on. So but yeah, the first thing is Fortnite is one of the many things having a Fallout crossover right now.
Yes, and I don't know what
if you were to guess, why would you think that is, Will?
Okay, so like obviously the TV show. Yeah. Like I'm not gonna bury the lead or what I think, but at the same time it's like I have very minimal, like it's like, how many hours do you have in Fortnite? I'm like, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes grand total, so Fortnite is not my type of game. Mm-hmm. Like it just does not really appeal to me, mostly because it's multiplayer centric, and that's not what I jive on.
Right.
But like I look at this and I say to myself, well, this seems like it's like, okay, the TV show's like a big, super smash success. We got to get as much Fallout stuff out there into the ecosystem as fast as possible and capitalize on this. Bethesda, could you really fast make a Fallout game? What do you think the freaking answer from Todd Howard is? So this seems like something like the entirety of Epic Games is they've got an apparatus that's intended to spin up and spit things out fast, you know? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of discussion about whether or not they're doing that at the cost of like other people's well-being because of the way that they run their studio.
Yeah.
I won't get into that.
Right.
But they definitely have a system where it's like, oh no, if we need to do a tie-in, we can like jump on it. Mm-hmm. So it's been long enough since the TV show that I'm like, okay, like they probably like figured that this was a great place to put it and then spun it up as fast as they could, you know?
Well, I will say too,
go on.
This did feel like a quick addition because how the season of Fortnite is like post-apoc themed, but it's still a lot of the like Fortnite Epic brand characters and less so the like big IP stuff. Like they have like a Wasteland Magneto for some reason. But they also have these power armor skins, and they are skins. I thought they were going to be like equipment because the game does that too sometimes. But they are skins, and they have like the power armor skin, a glider, backpack, and a like pick weapon or whatever for like harvesting. But I think that's it. Like I don't think there's anything beyond that's Fallout brand. Like no iconic like character actual faces. Like it's just power armor.
So are you telling me that they had a Wasteland theme going before the Fallout thing came in?
No. Or at the start of this season is when they like, that was the one thing that I couldn't tell, because as little as I know about Fortnite, what I do know is that there are like set sequences of seasons that they specifically build up for the purpose of trying to get people to FOMO for everything. Yes.
Which is fear of missing out, if you don't know.
Yes.
FOMO.
That's how they make the money.
Yes, that's how they make the money on all the cosmetics, because they're only good for the season or whatever.
Well, no, you can have them forever once you have them, but
you can only unlock them during the season or something?
Correct.
Like what I don't know basically is whether or not the new season just kind of synced up with the fact that Bethesda needed a tie-in, you know?
What I think it was Furiosa just came out too. I think they were gearing up for a Furiosa license deal, but that never happened. So they had to use their existing
Fallout
characters.
And
put a little
just
Fallout
kind of
in there too, because it's very much like a Mad Max kind of thing. Like Megalodon is the name of the like Immortan Joe looking character.
Okay.
And but he's in a giant like shark ship that's like traveling the dunes, and it's like, oh, it's so
okay,
cool. It's so
yeah,
sick looking.
that's way more Mad Max than it is.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So okay.
But they brought back all of their like classic post-apoc skins and maybe gave them a glow up for the battle pass too. So like it's something that I feel like I'm obligated to do because I do like playing occasionally. And now there's power armor skins. But the great part is, like, several years ago at this point, I had bought in for a game pass or for a battle pass. But they still have the thing where if you get enough ranks, like, you have enough V-Bucks for the next pass if you don't get sucked into the FOMO further in the store. So like I've been kind of riding on that like completion V-Buck amount for 3 seasons. the times I've decided to come back, I've committed, and then just waited till the next thing. So I'm probably not going to spend any extra money, and that makes me feel nice. I'll just be able to get the power armor stuff. But yeah, just one of those things. Also, I guess Call of Duty Black Ops 6 has a Vault Edition, which is definitely the shorter straw of the things that you can get crossover wise, because it's just vault suits on the operators. It doesn't.
I mean, I'll hand it to them. They're doing the best that they can with something that they thought was going to be a flop, you know, because that's what the entire concept of the TV show and the way that it was marketed.
Or wait, no, it's
leading up to it.
Seemingly coming to Warzone and Modern Warfare 3. So I guess, isn't Warzone doing okay still? I think, I don't know.
You know, I stopped paying attention to Call of Duty so long ago.
I know, like, people were pissed about Nicki Minaj getting a skin or a character.
That was a thing.
That was the thing.
I had no idea. Like I could care less. It's Call of Duty. It was like, oh yeah, that was great in like what, 2010?
Yeah.
Haven't cared for a long time.
It's like, it is something that fits in Fortnite a lot better than Call of Duty though.
Yeah.
Long story short, on the Fortnite thing, this is not an ad. I don't have a creator code or whatever. It's that if you want Fallout in other stuff, I think Fortnite's Wrecked season might give you the vibe that you want if you play it all. But also, something that's happening within about a week after this goes up is Summer Game Fest. I will typo that every single time because it should be Summer Games Fest. That was brought up on another podcast I listened to, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Why would they call it Game Fest as if it's covering one game over the course of 3 days?
Good question, but I mean, God, like Summer Game Fest still comes off as strange to me because like I'm still in that old E3 mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't like. It's one of those situations where I like stopped paying attention to a lot of the buzz because at some point I was like, no, like none of these stage shows mean anything. They're getting more abstract. They're being weird. Studios are dropping them. You know, Nintendo started that whole process of like, no, we're just going to do an online, you know, show.
The Nintendo Direct and then the PlayStation Direct and then the
Xbox so you know, like
showcase things.
When the Direct started, it was like, oh, this is so much more slim and it gets to the point faster. There's less pomp and circumstance. There's less presentation about it, you know?
Yeah.
Not long after, it was like everybody was like, oh, well, this is really easy to distill down into a list of like top statements. It's like, this is a thing, it's coming out now. This is a thing, we don't know when it's coming out. This is a thing, blah, 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 blah. So it's way faster to look down a list. And it's like, I don't have time to watch all of this stuff from E3, you know? So when Summer Game Fest came up, and it's kind of in that theme of like, we're gonna show things off, but we're gonna be more streamlined about it, and it's gonna be designed specifically around online streaming instead of people showing up to a convention hall. Like, because this was designed to accommodate the direct type stuff much better, I was like, oh, I don't have to watch that. The entire show distills down into a list very easily. I will let somebody else bother with it. So for that reason, I don't think I've ever watched a single Summer Games Fest.
Wow.
Like, it's just like, no, somebody will make a list out of it. And that's all the time I have for, because there are so many games where, you know, they promise you the moon with so many of these games.
Yeah.
And then just nothing materializes, or it becomes extremely underwhelming, or the entire purpose was that, what, you guys don't have phones? You know? So
I mean, that requires an audience to be actively asking questions, though, which kind of went away with an E3 format. And also, you know, people ruining it for others who are even going up to the stage and award shows now. So, like, you know, I don't think those kinds of things are going to happen much anymore anyway. But on the upside, if you are interested in seeing firsthand, the Summer Game Fest is going to be happening June 7th through June 10th, and they'll be having live streaming the whole thing from the YouTube theater, I guess. And then they'll have Day of the Devs, which is more of a indie show on the 7th, and then they'll have the Devolver annual game showcase. Devolver's always entertaining, and almost cynical sometimes. So
I mean, there is something to be said about the way that Devolver decides to present things.
Yeah.
And like, I am so back and forth on like the way that Devolver does this stuff, because on one hand, they're a publisher. Okay. They are trying to get attention. That's their whole goal, you know? But on the other side, there's a component of like, okay, how much of this is PR versus how much of this is just being very aware of the market that you're in, and knowing that you're not necessarily the biggest publisher out there. Not by no means a small publisher though. Like, how much of it is PR versus how much of this is just like genuine attitude because whoever's running this is a gamer, you know?
Could be a little of both.
And that's the best that you can hope for, and that's what I hope that Devolver Digital, that's what I hope is born of, you know?
Same. And then there's the Future of Play Direct, which is this is a weird one. It says a harmless showcase that's fun for the whole family.
That makes me suspicious.
That makes me suspicious as well. Like, that's a lie.
It's like, if you lead with saying that it's harmless and for the whole family. It's harmless and
for the whole family.
I'm assuming that it's going to be like something that you can't put on broadcast television.
Yeah. And there's the Wholesome Direct. I do like seeing these. That's the Future of Play Direct and Wholesome Direct are like the start of June 8th. And then the Latin American Games Showcase, over an hour of world premieres, exclusive trailers and announcements from the Latin American game developers. Women in Games, that was very small text in that circle. Oh, I guess what's next from women-led studios, exclusive deep dives and launch dates, which is cool. Then the Future Games Show, Summer Showcase. Oh my god, I can't say that. And that's just Future's Summer Showcase. This is another, like, maybe world premiere-y kind of stuff. And then the 9th is where we get the Xbox Showcase. If we get anything like Bethesda related, it's probably going to be on this day, on the 9th.
Yeah, the whole prospect of a Bethesda Direct is over.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think we just flat out don't get those anymore because, you know, we lost Pete Hines. But frankly, the Xbox Showcase, that's another thing that's like weird to me that they're still doing that. And I think Xbox still doing a showcase is representative of the fact that, like, I've seen so much about the way that the way that Xbox is like executing itself and doing things these days. That is like, do they have a master planner, or are they just like moving for like the smallest thing in front of them all the time? You know,
like part of the thing we talked about in the last episode. Yeah, we don't know. It was not a fun topic for those who missed episode 131, but
yes, it was about studio closures and stuff.
It was about really absurd studio closures that shouldn't have happened. Was that before or after they immediately said afterwards we need like really good indie studios or something? No, that was actually a quote from one of their talking heads, like after the closures. Like, we need something along the lines of like smaller, more intimate projects or whatever. Like, it was something just gross and corpo.
Just like, why the hell would you say that after doing that? So it was. But like,
the long and short of it was like, no studio is safe. Even Obsidian is not safe.
Yes.
That was kind of where we left it at. But the weird thing I found about this showcase a little bit is that it's split with Black Ops 6 Direct. So, which, I don't know, every time I see something Call of Duty, I'm like, okay, skip, because it's just not my vibe,
not your jam,
but
not your thing.
But I just thought it was interesting that's what it was kind of like split with, which means because it still has such a big like audience, I don't know if Xbox has that much to show. So
well, I mean, the presence of the Xbox Showcase is so strange to me because everybody else has moved direct, you know. And also, the number one thing that I see as a complaint in regards to Xbox is the fact that they're not really putting any software out that gives you good reason to buy an Xbox specifically. you know?
Well,
Anything that you can get on Xbox, you can get on, you know, other platforms.
Except Game Pass.
Except Game Pass, which is absolutely true. It's
that's the main thing that they have in their hand, basically, is Game Pass.
I don't know, something about, like, don't get me wrong, I do not want to disparage the value that is Game Pass. Okay?
Yeah, well, I did, because last episode I was like, I don't know what to do about this studio closure stuff, so I'm just gonna stop my Game Pass subscription. Like,
but
yeah,
I look at Game Pass and I'm like, this is not a financially viable thing for them to be doing.
Oh, and they know that,
know?
and they've talked about it.
And so I'm looking at it and I'm like, you've got value in Game Pass that can't last forever.
Yeah.
But I don't understand what they're doing.
They're gonna crank up the price at some point again, or do something really stupid. So
I'm just, I question if Xbox has a plan. I don't think that they're necessarily with the times right now, with, you know, the Xbox showcase being an example, because it's just like, no, stage shows are out, stop doing it.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, I think they're along the, I mean, that's probably why Black Ops 6 has its own direct too, is because all of the execs are thinking the same thing, where everybody is like, oh, we have to do live service to have our endless flow of money. And now they haven't realized yet that there is a limit to their players' time, or their prospective players' time, and it's probably taken up by their competitor or some other game at this point, because all of us have our, like, or most of us, I would say, I don't want to speak for everyone, but a lot of us already have our thing that we play. If we play online, we have our thing that we do online. It could be dailies, weeklies, whatever. There's already enough too.
You've basically got one. Yeah. If you want to lead an even close to balanced life, you get one game that you can do a daily on, and that is it. That's the full limit of it. You can't do that with a whole bunch.
Yeah, I've been blessed with my position where I can just spend hours upon hours jumping from game to game if I really wanted to, but I've done that rarely, because it's still a lot. Swapping between, I don't know, something like Fortnite or Fallout 76, like, I have enough time in 76 at this point, which, you know, I racked up tons of hours already, that I can just pop in, do the daily challenges, and then pop back out. But I had to get up to that point too, and my own living situation schedule thing does allow me to do that, which I am grateful for. So
but there's always a price to pay. Think about all the time that you're spending on your backside instead of going for a walk.
Oh, we go on walks a lot more, actually. I went to the zoo yesterday. I'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I did notice that in the notes.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's the PC gaming show next.
Yeah. Yep.
This is something that always fascinates me whenever the gaming show does happen, because it's PC never gets a gaming show, really. You know, it's been a thing for a little bit now, but you know, the beauty of the PC market is the fact that there's no one-centric publisher pushing the market forward, unless you want to count Valve.
Yeah, well, that's what PC Gamer does. That's why it's hosted by them.
It's like, well, you know, but, you know, like, I remember back in the day, you know, the enormous stage shows we used to get, and they were a really, really big thing for a while, and they were the highlight of, you know, E3 and all that stuff. But PC never got anything like that, despite the fact that, like, PC was tearing it up with, you know, the success of Steam and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yeah,
just seeing a PC gaming show, to me, I don't know how much I could ever get out of it, but at the same time, I look at it and I'm like, that's novel. That's novel. I kind of like it.
I will say, Steam Next Fest is actually good. Steam Next Fest is a pretty good resource. And I want to say it happens biannually or annually.
It happens at least once a year. Biannually sounds like something that is a thing.
But it's good. Like, is what I'm trying to say. It's good because it at least gives some space to those, especially indies that are, you know, taking the dive on Steam, trying to get some kind of attention on their projects.
Oh my God.
which I
June
like.
10th.
June 10th.
June 10th to 17th. So that's coming up. That's right around the corner. Jeez.
For the next fest, yeah.
Yeah.
The last thing that happens on June 10th, by the way, is Ubisoft Forward.
Okay, so we're done with the itinerary, obviously.
Yeah. So I have the same feeling.
I remember the last time I watched a show from Ubisoft, they were dedicating time to dancers doing things on the stage. And I was like, okay, where are your games?
Yep.
You know, it's just, I can't remember the last time Ubisoft published anything that I was actually interested in, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not to say anything bad about the games that Ubisoft makes, but I do distinctly remember someone referring to Ubisoft games as digital junk food, because they were all basically designed on the same like play cycle, the same game loop, the same paradigm. And it's been a long
where a lot
time.
of open world itis came from is Ubisoft
Yes,
games.
exactly. It was like, yeah, it's a big world, go up the tower, you know, hit a button or whatever.
And for anybody who's listening and doesn't know Ubisoft, this is Assassin's Creed, this is Far Cry, what else? Immortals Phoenix Rising, that is probably never going to get a sequel because it's a colorful version of that philosophy, basically.
Yeah,
So,
so
like-
you know, like it was just so unbelievably formulaic, and you know, it was like, okay, I don't care anymore. Like I've done this gameplay loop 3 times. Like I don't know if they've managed to break themselves of that, because I basically lost interest in Ubisoft games with, God, it was so long ago, Assassin's Creed 3, I believe.
Yeah, I think I
So-
popped back in to play Odyssey, because it was either on Game Pass or like an Epic freebie or something like that, and I popped in and started playing it. I'm like, this is pretty cool. Like the intro sequences is the 300, like that's a awesome way to start a game. But like after a certain point, it just became that open world thing again, and I'm just like, okay, outposts, nice, all right, killing some dudes, cool. Oh, here's a tower. Oh, now I got crap ton of map markers. Great, I can't wait.
You know, I would have to make the argument that the Ubisoft game, that the Ubisoft open world experience is basically the antithesis of what a lot of people keep coming back to Bethesda games for. Because the Bethesda open world experience is specifically finding a small little shack out in the middle of nowhere, but finding a story that has been written into that shack somehow.
And that's very important distinction too, is that Bethesda has the environmental storytelling down well enough, and everything, or the majority of the things that you see, you can still interact with. Whereas in Ubisoft open world games, I'm guessing it might be engine limitations, things too, but it's not designed for that. So everything is decorative and kind of static, where it's just there. And you might find like a single like note thing where you can press a button and read it. But it's not nearly as like, I guess
not as
dense to look at and explore.
Yeah. And I mean, as we've learned with Starfield, like that intimacy doesn't matter if there's no like interconnecting world for you to find those things with ease as well. You know, it's like I understand that there's plenty of that in Starfield, but if I can't find it with ease, then it's kind of lost.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that like Starfield was like, we have no middle ground.
yeah,
like,
and that's really the problem, because God, the biggest criticism turns out to be the biggest criticism about Bethesda games turns out to be their biggest strength, which is that as wide as a lake, as shallow as a puddle. And I'm like, okay, I think that mediocre middle ground might be the exact reason why the world works so well in regards to like how you can find stuff and whatnot. So it's like, no, you can't throw it to the extremes where you have an absurdly large world, or you have like basically no open world. It's like, no, there's the middle ground, and it like arguably that's a mediocre thing to do, but you know what? I think it works a whole lot better.
Yeah. And
I'm gonna get so much disagreement with that statement. I just know it.
Well, I will say too, like you have you have salt glasses for sure for especially the most recent. I mean, well, not most recent, but Fallout 4.
Bethesda's 2 most recent games.
Yeah, and I am developing that for Starfield as well. Even though my map complaint has been addressed, and also the update for that was better than expected. I still haven't even jumped into the game though, because there's not enough there yet for me to like want to continue working on the things I was working on for it. Which feels bad because like I haven't finished my sets of magazines guides. I have like 4 or 5 to go.
How many magazine sets are there in the game?
There's a lot. Let me give you a count really quick.
Oh my god, it's been so long since I fired up Starfield last. I just checked my Steam. The last time I played was December 29th. That's a long time ago.
17. There's 17 sets of magazines.
17 sets, and you're down to 5 remaining?
I think 5 to go. Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, Caedo, you are in the home stretch there. Come on, put out a bunch of stuff for a game that nobody wants to play.
I see, that's the thing too, is like I made one tips and tricks for Fallout 4, and it has already surpassed the views of all of the magazine's guides combined.
Wow. Holy. I mean,
or come very close, because it's at like it also my best performing video in the past couple of months. But yeah, I'm at 57,000 views on the tips and tricks now.
Oh my god.
This has been the fastest growing upload in a long time. But that just shows where people are right now with Bethesda games. Like
yes, it's like, no, it's forget this Starfield trash. Just give me more Fallout, man. The show was great. You know.
So I have to, if I want to keep doing what I'm doing full time, I sometimes have to switch gears, which is very difficult for me. I
oh
have
my god,
the hardest time switching gears, especially midway through a project. But like that was, for a while, the magazine's guide still felt like something without any, even alongside the medical problems I was having and being like stuck in bed for like sometimes days on end. So
jeez,
like there was a lot of other factors, but
you
also
are doing better from that too. So,
but also Starfield, I have no inclination really to go back and take it seriously until something else happens, I think.
Until Bethesda can figure out how to make an original game.
Yeah.
I mean, we were discussing this in prep and everything.
There's some originality to it. There's a little like the NASA punk thing. I think they're onto something. But and also companions that are now too far into the interactivity.
Oh my god, yes.
Like they won't shut up.
like I think
what they have to say is great, but if they repeat it over and over and over, especially when you're in a ship battle, I just want silence and the sound of ships blowing each other up.
Like I think that was really more or less the start of my displeasure with the way that Bethesda was doing companions in Fallout 4.
And also no evil companion. That
I like
in Constellation as a whole anyway. Like you can have like other crewmates follow you around. Like this is turning into a side rant too.
this is a thing, okay, in regards to Starfield that like kind of I found baffling. I was like, why are all of your followers concentrated just in Constellation? Why can't you just find random people out in the middle of nowhere, you know, who are like, oh yeah, I've got an entire story, you know, and I'll be your follower for a while.
I mean, that's the thing. There's like over 20 something crewmates, but only some of them have backstory or tie-ins to things that have gone on. Other ones are just like higher on the spot.
Well, that's what I mean. It's the difference between having a follower with a story versus like a follower who you pick up due to finishing a quest.
Yeah.
I think there's an NPC that I used in Skyrim called Vault, and you specifically pick him up because you helped to clean out some Draugr from his ancestral tomb. And it's only after you finish the quest that it's like, okay, well, he'll follow you. He has nothing more to contribute after that point. It's like his story is done. You know, and there's nothing abundantly wrong with that. But why is it that you wrote all the companions to be good and they're basically all of them are in Constellation? This is a huge galaxy. And it smacks of the fact that, like, it feels like they didn't know what type of a game that they were making. They just had, you know, ideas and they didn't really know how they were going to stitch together and stuff.
I think, I mean, since Sarge is not here, I think he mentioned either he thought it was something like this or like he would just prefer that the game might have initially been scaled quite a bit smaller, but it was scaled way up once they like figured out their procedural systems and also for marketing purposes.
Yeah, I mean a lot of, like, if you step back and you just if you step back and you look at Starfield fundamentally from a mechanical, like what they had to do to make this game possible, you know, because I will readily admit that it's like, you know, there are performance issues with Starfield, but they're not the same performance issues that have suddenly started showing up for Fallout 4 years after the fact, you know, like, you know, the infinite loading screens and stuff like that. So, like, they've done a lot to improve their engine, and I think that that's where a lot of their work probably went into, trying to just improve the technology used to make Starfield possible, in the level of fidelity that they wanted it and everything.
I mean, even talking about the recent update that I showed you, where they tease the rover, like a land vehicle that you can actually use on a world, like that was not really feasible in previous iterations of this engine.
I fully expect the rover to show up and be a disastrous mess, and I don't know whether or not it's going to be one of those messes.
This is why they public test things now.
Yeah, like I highly question if it's going to be one of those messes where they put it out and they realize that they figure out how to fix it, or they realize, oh, we never should have done this, and they either
it's a really smart move on their part that they do the public tests on Steam now. Like, it's
they should have started doing that a long time ago.
They should have. Yes, you're right.
I'm happy that they're finally doing it, because it's the best way to get, you know, the raw information that you need from the game.
I think 76 really started the ball rolling on that too. Like, just how much of a mess it was at launch, and then like partway through when they started introducing more and more new stuff, they're just like, we are a small team in Bethesda Studios. Like, we need a lot more feedback because of the scale of the game 76 is too.
You can't develop this game like it's the 90s.
No,
that's just rule. Okay.
Yeah. So like that was a smart decision to just have public tests.
Okay, so should we move on? We've really gone off on a tangent.
Yes, we have. You're correct. I don't think it's a bad
tangent. Yeah. I think that this is the type of stuff that people want to hear, hopefully.
I hope so.
Because if it's not, oh geez.
Oh no. Yeah, I didn't mention the intro either. Yeah, Sarge is out sick. He got hit pretty hard with some kind of bug, and I really hope he feels better, because I miss you, Sarge. You should, you know, let us know how you're doing. Maybe, I don't know, you're probably not gonna listen to this. I don't know if you're gonna listen to this. But I hope you feel better, man.
Here's my opportunity to remind Caedo, the editor, to maybe take an excerpt of that and put it at the start of the video.
Maybe I might. I don't know. Some like, I said you were the stand-in co-host, so I feel like longtime listeners can piece it together, but just be like, no, we replaced Sarge. No, that would be cruel. after
What
100.
happened to Sarge? I don't know.
Sarge revealed to me that he's not a real Fallout fan. Therefore, I had to kick him off the podcasts.
Oh, I thought he was abducted by the Zaytans.
Oh yeah, the Zaytans got him. That's what happened. Dang it, those gosh dang little green guys. Yeah. Hey, little green guys also drop a unique in Fallout New Vegas, don't they?
Ooh. Excuse me. Yes, they do.
I'm sorry to bore you.
I mean, you have no earthly idea. You brought up Fallout, and I am just going to sleep already. Because who cares about Fallout? Starfield is where it's all at. Let's get back to that topic.
Oh my goodness, dude.
I stayed up late last night.
Me too.
I'll be talking about why I stayed up late soon enough.
Hey.
The best collectibles in Fallout?
The best unique weapons.
Yes.
Or,
okay.
Or our favorites, or however you want to categorize them.
I mean, for whatever reason, the first unique that I remember is the last build that I did when I was playing Fallout 4.
We're jumping right into it.
It's the only unique that I remember from Fallout 4, and it's because it's in a dedicated location in Good Neighbor. It is a missile launcher called the Party Starter.
Oh.
That's all I remember.
This is the fun discussion, because I don't know if hold on, let me look it up. Because that is more of a named legendary than an actual unique.
Named legendary?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
This is the problem Fallout 4 had, and the point of ranting that Sarge and I have all the time is Bethesda cheaped out real hard in Fallout 4 on uniques, because truly unique stuff, there in the vanilla game there's only about 13.
Okay.
But what usually classifies, Sarge and I honed this down quite a bit because Starfield has the same issues because it has a legendary system too, is what classifies them is they have a name, but they don't stop there. They have some kind of unique appearance to them compared to other variants, and or they have a backstory and or unique effect. They have to have at least a couple of those to qualify in my mind. But unfortunately, in Fallout 4's case and Starfield's case, there are just named variants of weapons that are mildly different, and just happen to have a legendary effect slapped on them.
Yes, it's basically a random gun system.
Which is why I suggested you and I talk about New Vegas uniques, because those very much have those qualifiers that I was talking about.
Like the uniques of, like, what is it? Is it the multi-class rifle? God, I don't remember where it came from.
Q35 matter modulator? Is that what you're talking about?
Okay, yeah. I think the multi-class rifle was something from Fallout 3. Yeah,
Fallout 3 had the regular plasma rifle.
It had multi-class rifle was something, and I don't remember what it was.
That's a plasma weapon in New Vegas that was introduced in New Vegas. Like the standard variant is multi-plas rifle.
Control F. Why are you not bringing me to the location of the item that I have just typed in? Oh, there it is. You just blend in. Okay, that's why I remember it. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fine.
I apologize.
It's all good.
But yeah, like things like the Q35 matter modulator, I remember that specifically because of where, how it's like held inside of a container and it's supposed to be floating in the air, but it was always sitting on the ground for me.
Yep, same.
So I was like, well, clearly something went wrong there, because like I think I've only seen it floating in the air one time, and I think it was whenever I cheated my way into the room just to get the footage faster.
Yeah.
But you know, like the concept of like, okay, this is the base model, and then this is like a special model that is named, you know. I really, really liked that in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah.
But then when you get into Fallout 4, it's just like, well, what's the point of any of the named stuff when like you can get a legitimately awesome thing just randomly spawning off of a legendary enemy?
That's what like it conflicts with itself kind of thing. like that. And then it just became worse with Starfield,
yeah.
with its pseudo Borderlands loot system with no real rules to it. Which sucks, because Borderlands, they figured out their rules. They're just like, oh, this legendary is a legendary weapon. It has flavor text, it has an appearance, it has a cool thing that it does. It's like a whole package. And they're not even really classified as unique, because you can get as many as you want if you farm a boss or whatever, but it still feels special. It still has that effect.
Meanwhile, in Starfield, it's like, well, this has got the cool color on its name or whatever, but it sucks in comparison to this white gun that I found. Like, it's a gray. It's supposed to, the gray is objectively supposed to be worse according to all other games out there. But it has better effects. It's a better gun because the color is only dictated by whether or not it has a special effect on it.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That's the problem that I guess Borderlands ran into is like the power creep thing. Like, you're always increasing the numbers, so you won't hold on to your special cool weapons for very long if you keep playing, which is unfortunate.
I mean, I remember some of the discussion or talk that came out of Gearbox Studios whenever they were working on the original Borderlands, because they were talking about how they were like the engine, that the system that they created to pump out those random guns was creating things that they never thought it would create, because they never thought, oh, we need to put limitations on this. So they were getting like handgun rocket launchers out of that system back in the like early days of development, and they were like, oh, we don't really want rockets on handguns. We better put some restraints on that system.
Yeah.
So
it's the when procedural systems are sometimes not really necessary, or at least don't have enough rules to them.
I mean, the utter truth is that, you know, if you're going to get things, if you're going to use a procedural system, you basically have to spend all of your time figuring out what the extremes are and what the limitations on those extremes need to be.
Yeah.
You know, because I think one of the examples of the extremes for the loot table in Starfield is the fact that you have the most common one is like you're trying to get through like a super hard digipick, and you find like 3 credits inside of the safe, you know? Like that's the example that most people remember, because it's the most sucky outcome possible.
That's a Skyrim dungeon outcome too sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
So like the limitations of the loot system, which to this degree in regards to like money that you can find inside of chests and whatnot, my understanding has not changed for a long time. It's basically, you know, you've got the bell curve, and then you have these really, really long tails that go out to either end of it. And it's really low chance to end up rolling a number that gets you like basically nothing or an absurd amount out of a chest. But I've seen it happen before. I've never had it happen to me, but people will share screenshots once in a while where it's like, oh, there were 10 million credits in this chest, you know?
What?
And it's like, how the hell is that possible? And the answer is pretty much always, well, there's no actual hard limit on the tail of how much you can find inside of a loot cache. It's just the chances of getting that are so exceptionally low, you know? It's wild whenever I see it. And of course, like, I'm just throwing a number out there. I don't know what the actual number was. Maybe it was 10,000 credits or something, but
it could be a lot though. Like I also haven't played around with the, I think that's under social skills in Starfield. Like I've barely committed to social skills in Starfield because, you know, gun shooty, also jetpack. So
man, do not get started with the jetpack. Oh god, my soul for that. It's like, if this is so important, why the hell do I have to spend a perk to unlock it?
That I have
so
an answer for that, because I have I have a theory they needed to fill out the skill tree, and they just started throwing things in there.
I was like, okay, we'll kneecap a bunch of the game's design in order to fill out the skill tree.
That's what I think happened, because there's also like ships have storage modules, and yet there's also the payload skill, which increases your overall ship storage. Like, that's a redundancy, is what that is.
Oh, huge. Huge.
It's like, I mean, the downside of putting more storage modules on your ship obviously is that it'll slow it down, but really not by much. And often, if you're committing to shipbuilding anyway, like, you're gonna have a behemoth by the end.
Yes.
So, like, why do we need payloads? And also, you know, all my complaints about boxing / unarmed, it's like, it's not a viable combat tactic or combat skill at all.
That was something that I immediately noted. I was like, I think that there are 3 fist weapons in this game.
There's no fist weapons in the game.
And
there's none.
None?
There's none. It's bare fists.
God.
That's why they don't work. It's because they don't have anything to scale on.
Okay, because like whenever it came to like the punching option, I remember reading some salt when the game was new.
It might have been for me.
I mean, it could have been, but there was a lot of salt going around at the time. And I remember somebody was like, it's the dumbest thing ever. It doesn't work. And like these
Fudge Muppet put up a video on it, and I was really hoping that they got some, like, because Bethesda, I know for a fact Bethesda watches their content. I'm like, please pay attention to this.
So just like knowing that it's like, oh, there's some really good breakdowns of why this is broken and it doesn't work. And all I could think of as I'm reading these breakdowns of why punching isn't an option in Starfield is the fact that, like, I watched the hype videos and they had an entire, like, I don't know, maybe 30-second excerpt where one of the developers was like, oh, I just love running around and punching people.
Yeah, he said, I love neuro strikes, which is, yes, at max rank, you can ragdoll people with a punch, but that doesn't kill them at all.
and I was thinking about that, and this is news to me, because I'm like, I'm never gonna play a punching character. I never play punching characters. Like, if it works, fantastic, great, good for you, but not my thing. So now that I'm like, I didn't know about Neurostrike until just now. Mm-hmm. It's like, wow, you guys false advertised the ever-loving crap out of that.
That's the thing. They like rode the line, because they showed what Neurostrikes does, but they didn't show anything really dying to fists or being close to death to show them dying to fists, I guess. So, like, but they didn't, I don't know, it felt so like undercooked as a play style, even though the skill tree told you different, if that makes sense. Because the skill tree has like at least 3 or 4 skills that affect fists directly. And I was just like, well, even if I commit to all of these, it's still not really increasing my damage in a meaningful way.
And I like, this is a thing in regards to all of the gameplay and the writing that
I keep burping into my mic too. This is gonna be great.
This is another thing that like really stands out to me in regards to like the writing that I've done for Fallout 4, that most of it is still yet unpublished. I don't know if it ever will be, but one of the things that I realized in regards to Fallout 4 was that like that perk chart, whether you like it or not, it's informing you of what is supposed to be viable as a combat option in the game. Mm-hmm. And then if you, not all of the things that you can take perks in are viable combat options for a variety of reasons that I won't really get into now. But it's like, if your perks, by virtue of what's there and you can take, are telling you, hey, this is a viable combat path, and then it's not afterwards, that is a huge betrayal to the game, to the player.
Well,
you know,
something I noticed in particular that definitely I wonder if there was like some leftover attribute stuff that they just pulled from Starfield, because in Fallout 4 that's what scaled your unarmed damage, was strength, and you could pump strength well above 10 if you wanted to. Whereas in Starfield you don't have a strength, you have the physical skill tree, which can modify various like derived things like your base punching damage, which is probably like 5, but even at double it's 10, which is still really low.
Like you fundamentally have to have something in there to increase
if
raw
bullets
damage
from the weakest gun, like if a 1 second like trigger squeeze from the lamest gun in the game can outperform a punch, like there's a problem. And it's actually that bad. It's so disappointing to me, and makes me like it dwarfs the complaints I had about unarmed in Fallout 4, which is also absurd. So
oh my god.
Hey, welcome to the salty episode about Fallout 4 and Starfield, everyone.
We're supposed to be talking about uniques in Fallout New Vegas right now.
We kind of just
Look at what we're
floated away
doing
again,
instead.
like we're in space. It's because you brought up the party starter. That's what started it.
I mean, so getting back on track to the whole unique thing. Yes. First unique gun that I always love to grab in Fallout New Vegas, Lucky.
Yep.
Lucky. And like this was something that I really loved about New Vegas, specifically the fact that they had this entire cowboy aesthetic and they leaned into it with perks as well.
Yeah, that's actually one of my best performing playthroughs, I think.
I mean, cowboy was it's just so much fun to run around with a lever action and a revolver.
It's a great overpowered perk too.
Oh yes, but I mean, I think that's an important factor in any good single player game. It's like, yeah, you can get stupid overpowered. If you can't get stupid overpowered in a single player RPG by the end, then I don't think that you're designing your RPG correctly.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I'll concede that it's like, no, you shouldn't be able to do that. And it's like, okay, you shouldn't be able to do that if you don't know what you're doing. But if you know what you're doing, if this is like your third or your fourth playthrough of the game, I would hope that you know that it's like, oh, if I build my character this way, I'm going to be able to do stupid, just fun, crazy things with it. You know?
My brain was screaming Kenshi, so I have to say it. That's all.
You do play a lot of that.
I do.
The hours I've seen you sink into it.
Because yeah, you can. If you conveniently lose your limbs and replace them with stronger ones, yes, you can become absurd in that game.
Oh my god. Wait a minute.
You see, there's a machine in Kenshi called the Peeler, and what it does is peel the skin off of your character, but if you're quick enough to remove them from the machine, it'll just remove their limbs.
Wow. Jeez. Here I thought that we were just talking about Big Mountain and Old World Blues.
Oh, nope. Nope.
Oh god. Old World Blues. Now there was something else. Like one of the best experiences I ever had was having an argument with myself.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, dude. Can we talk about Old World Blues and how it kind of broke uniques for me?
Okay. Tell me how.
The Old World Blues included finite numbers of specific weapons, and I had to classify them as rare / unique. Like I had to have that qualifier like stated when I made my guide, because there were like
the Cyberdog gun. There are only 2 copies of the Cyberdog gun.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like I had to like kind of bend the rule of the term because of Old World Blues. Like not really many other. I don't think any of the other DLCs like had that issue where you're just like, yes, there's one of these. Whereas Old World Blues was like, no, we have like 2 or 3. And
yes,
and you can find them in different spots in the crater. I
mean, it went in both directions for Old World Blues, because I did make a gun guide for that. I do remember doing it at some point, and I specifically remember talking about the Cyberdog gun and being like, well, there are 2 copies of the Cyberdog gun. You have to get one they hand to you, and there's another one, in this location that you have to grab,
and you can upgrade one or upgrade them too.
Yeah. So you can have one of each, and it like I looked at that and I said that seems a whole lot to me like a situation where they wanted to give you a collector's option to have all of the guns.
Yeah, I suppose
Too bad they never put gun stands in the game. That would have been great.
Maybe they did, and then they realized how jacked up the engine is for displaying items still.
Oh,
they were just like, nah,
oh boy.
Nah, we don't have time for this.
So I don't know, man. It was Old World Blues is one of the DLCs that I have played the most of from New Vegas, but at the same time, it is the one that I have the least interest in going back and playing again.
Yeah. I would guess, if I were to guess why, would it have something to do with the half hour of exposition in the beginning of it?
No, actually.
Oh.
The exposition, like when I did my Fallout New Vegas playthrough, was it not for the fact that I was bumping up against the release of Fallout 4? I had full intentions of going through and doing all the DLC. I wanted to. But what I wanted to specifically do was like not do it in the mainline playthrough because it's like, you know, I don't know, it was like 80 or something episodes. I don't remember. But you put a number onto something, fewer people are going to watch. That's just the rule in the law.
Yes.
Fewer people watch or play the sequel than people play the original. That tends to be the way that everything works. So what I wanted to do was basically finish all of the content for the Mojave and like do all of the followers and then do the Battle of Hoover Dam. And then I wanted to go back and basically do 4 DLCs that were for New Vegas?
Yeah.
4 miniseries, each for the individual DLCs, you know? And because that was my plan, the entire introduction of Old World Blues stood out to me, you know? Because I was thinking about that real hard. I was like, man, I'll like intersplice me running around and doing stuff so you're not staring at someone just blankly talking to you the whole time.
Yeah. That's one thing that I liked about your playthroughs too, is you would what's it called? I think it's called L cutting.
L cut.
Yeah.
Yep.
When you cut footage over the top of like a dialogue thing. Like I always liked that with your style.
Yeah, just give you something visually compelling to look at instead of a static screen. And like I was like, man, you can't do that with Old World Blues.
No.
You can't. There's like 30 minutes. There's like an hour and a half of just sitting around talking to those eggheads. And I love it. Oh my God, do I love it. But that does not make for good visual content.
No.
So like it never panned out. And YouTube is a different ecosystem these days. You can't get away with doing Let's Plays for the most part. So
if you're making a Let's Play, just for anybody who's interested, here's a little pro tip. It's saturated as hell. Do it for the practice and do it for yourself.
Yes.
That's mainly my advice for Let's Plays now, as opposed to
like even you know, channels that are still going that have done Let's Plays pretty much for their entire existence. They've had to change up their content so they're never like really doing a long series. And even then it's like if they get to do that, it's like, oh no, you get one and it's like it can only last so long and we have to be very careful about how many of those we put out. And
intentional too. Like, I mean, I'm guessing we're kind of thinking about the same dudes.
Yeah. Like I'm not going to be specific because there's more than one channel out there.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into people's opinions about it.
Yeah,
individual channels.
But some have, or this one that we're talking about vaguely. They have like their one big game series that they're doing, and then they have a bunch of other like smaller games, either like
smaller bite size. Hey, we're gonna see what the hell is out there,
like,
type stuff.
Like 3 episodes max for those games.
So, and I think that kind of leans into the whole like meta component of YouTube of like, well, you have to throw things at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, and they've also been here since forever. So
Yeah.
that has a
Yeah.
benefit too.
I mean,
Built-in fan base.
there's something to be said about like basically being an institution for as young as YouTube is. So
Yeah. Yep. So Lucky.
yeah, lucky.
You need to
So-
tag lockpick to get it early, right?
I believe it is inside of like a very hard safe inside of the Bison
A hard
Hotel?
safe, if I remember right. So that's 75.
A hard locked safe. Yeah. In the Bison Steve Hotel in
Yeah.
Prim. So like I remember getting my hands on that specifically and just playing almost the entire game with it because it was so good and was so fun. It was like, I don't know, man, I really like this.
Revolvers are
And
cool.
and I think the thing that I am the most disappointed with in regards to revolvers and uniques in New Vegas is the fact that there is no unique Ranger Sequoia.
Yes. Hey, man,
Like-
I'm glad you brought that up because
Like I love the Ranger Sequoia. It's a
Yep.
big challenge to get one without like, you know, murderizing anyone from the NCR or something.
did you want to mention the confusion that a lot of people have too? That people call it unique, but it's not.
No, well, yeah, that's just it. Like I remember whenever I covered it in the handgun guide, I think it was the very last thing that I talked about in that particular video, and I had to state up top, it's like, this isn't a unique, but getting your hands on one without outright like killing an NCR Ranger or something, good luck. You know,
Yeah.
like it may as well be unique if you're trying not to kill anyone from the NCR.
There are a couple of tricks.
Oh yeah, there are a couple of tricks.
One is
Like,
by Hanlon in Camp Golf.
Yep.
If he takes his own life, then he has it on his body.
Yep.
And the other ones is the steal trick where you steal their ammo, leave, and then come back, and then they'll have the gun unequipped, and then you steal the gun.
Yes. That was always one that I hated doing because, like, I don't know, I felt like stealth suffered in New Vegas in comparison to Fallout 3 because there were less narrow corridors to sneak around.
Yeah, that's true.
That was just my personal experience.
So I just carry a barrel around wherever you go. It's super easy. I can't believe you don't do that.
super easy. I'm not murderizing my finger by like holding it up the whole time. Or you know, like completely handicapping myself because I can't see anything in front of me.
It's a good bullet shield too.
Oh yes, absolutely. but I remember like being really conflicted about the Ranger Sequoia because the only way that I felt okay with getting my hands on one was through Chief Hanlon. But that's such a downer of an outcome for like, you know,
That, and it's a lengthy
a quest.
too.
It's lengthy, yeah. And so it's like, oh, you get this for the very, very end of ends, where you have to run over the entirety of the irradiated Earth in order to get your hands on this weapon.
Yeah.
And like every single time I had the Ranger Sequoia, I freaking loved using it, but I was like, this is too far late game and too difficult to get your hands on for me to really enjoy.
The ammo too. That's another thing.
Why?
The 4570 government, like, that's
Yeah.
a pain to get most of the time, unless you are just like set up for crafting ammo, or you go to the two spots that I always recommend, which is the Con Armory and the damn Quartermaster. Yeah, because they have
Okay, well that
like 40 millimeter grenades in bulk and a lot of other ammo that is.
I never used either of those vendors. It was pretty much gun runners full stop, you know?
Yeah.
Because it was like, who the hell else has
Well, yeah,
enough
it's because
money
they're there and
to
they
trade
have
with?
the name gun runners. Like, you expect them to have a surplus of what you need, but
But I like it. It actually reminds me of Fallout 3, because Fallout 3, I specifically, whenever I did my playthrough, I did a big guns, because I had heard the developers talking about how like big guns, you know, it's not something that like you would initially think about playing, but you know, like there's low level guns with tons of ammo for it sitting around, specifically the flamer. So I was like, you know,
yeah.
I've never done that before. Let's give this a shot. So that I did that for my playthrough, and I knew from the very beginning what my end game weapon had to be. It was going to be Vengeance. Full
Yeah.
stop.
Heck
I was
yeah,
like,
dude.
no, it's going to be vengeance. I know exactly what this is going to be.
Yep.
But because I knew that it was going to be vengeance, I was like, no, the minute that I can like find EC packs, I think that's what it ran off of, EC packs.
Electron charge packs, yeah.
Yeah. The minute that EC packs start to show up in vendor inventories, it doesn't matter what I need. I am trading not for caps, I'm trading for those.
Yep.
All the time.
Yep.
And because I put a bought and sold breakdown on the screen every single time that I visited a vendor, people were like halfway through the series asking me, why the hell are you buying EC packs?
I think I borrowed that from you, actually. I think
like so many people were like, why are you buying so many EC packs? You don't need them. And you know, I don't know if I ever answered anyone, but then I got down to the end and whenever I finally like acquired vengeance from, I think it was the Deathclaw Sanctuary or something. Mm-hmm. I take it out and I equip it, and I remember being like, I have been buying for ages so I can do this. And like you see the number and it's like, oh, he has like 5,000 EC packs for this
way
thing.
Over cap. You're just like, yes, I can just hold it
like,
down until the end of the game.
I had reason to like open up my original save file for Fallout 4. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my god, this is a save file from 2015. That's so long ago. And I'm like, what weapons do I even have on my character? Because this was the character that I played whenever like I was streaming it, and you know, people were like donating, so I was like renaming all of my weapons to donators, you know. And I'm like, man, this is a blast from the past, but I'm gonna go ahead and shoot. I'm gonna go out and shoot some stuff. And the first thing I realize is, doesn't matter what weapon I switch to, they all have 999 ammo. I'm like, okay, I vaguely remember playing games like this, you know, where you turn into a walking armory and you never sell any of your ammo. Mm-hmm. It's just
something that again experience. I like that survival mode makes you consider.
Yes.
Gives you hardcore mode too in New Vegas.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there's something so satisfying about being like, no, I can carry all the ammo.
Yeah. Because
it is all weightless, and I will destroy you.
Yeah.
So, oh my god, good times.
Well, since we're technically still talking about New Vegas pistols or handguns, it's gonna be, I'm a basic boy, but I'm gonna mention that gun because,
you know, I think that gun was the biggest disappointment for me ever.
It's probably one of the easiest ones to come across, but what is your disappointment? Tell me before I gush about it.
All I remember, okay, like it's just one of those situations where I can be completely wrong about something, but your first experience completely taints everything for you. Mm-hmm. Like it tints your entire experience with the gun. And I remember whenever you needed to get some of the radiated goo out of the rocket thing, I was just like I walked up to, I forget what the NPC's name is in Novak, but it's like, hey, I want to buy all your toy rocket ships.
Cliff Briscoe.
Okay. Yeah, Cliff. So like instead of being a reasonable person and just like stealing one off of a tabletop or buying one or two from the shop, mm-hmm. I walk up to him and I select the dialogue option. I want to buy everything from you. And he just gives you the key to the storeroom. Mm-hmm. And that was how I found the gun in there. And I was like, oh, I'll just close this door and take this gun. This is mine now. Cool. I got a freaking named weapon. And for your first playthrough, if you haven't properly teched into anything, that's going to be one of the most likely, you know, named guns that you're going to stumble across. If you're not being an exhaustive explorer.
Yes. Yeah.
So
there's enough things that lead you to it that you'll probably,
yeah.
And he's got it in his sale inventory too.
Yeah. Well, that was the big thing. I was like, that is such an expensive gun. I really want it, but I can't buy it. Type situation. Yeah. So I get it. I just basically steal it out of his storage room, and I turn around and I start using it, and I'm like, why the hell is nothing dying? I am shooting them over and over, and nothing is dying. And I think I had taken the cowboy perk already, and I think I had already found Lucky. So
you were immediately comparing to Lucky.
Well, I mean, if you have those, I didn't know what was going on, you know, because I was just playing the game. I wasn't trying to diagnose it. I wasn't trying to dissect it or anything. I was just enjoying myself. So you move from lucky, that is comboing off of a perk, to just that gun, which isn't comboing off of a perk. Frankly,
Well,
it was it uses ammo that I wasn't relying on, so I had less of that ammo.
Before you go much further that gun does combo off of Cowboy.
It does? Doesn't strike me as the type of gun that would.
Yep. Technically, it's still a revolver though, so I guess that's why they included it. But I will say, there is a damage type. Ammo difference. Were you crafting ammo for Lucky?
Never crafted any ammo.
Okay. Were you using anything besides the basic 357?
Just straight 357.
Lucky does have a lower AP cost.
Well, whatever the rhyme or the reason was, I remember picking it up and finding out, no, that gun doesn't use 356. It uses 556.
Yeah.
So, but I just remember, what I remember was using that gun and finding out that it didn't.
I know what it is.
The same.
I know what it is.
What?
Lucky requires a gun skill of 0. That gun requires a gun skill of 50.
Remind me again what this means.
This, I believe it affects weapon sway and also damage.
Oh, well. That's right. There are like strength requirements and whatnot if you get any of the heavy weapons in the game. That's right. There are penalties if you don't have a high enough skill rating. So you see, I'm not used to there being nuance in my Fallout games. I wonder if that was part of it. It could have. All I remember was that when I used that gun, it was underwhelming.
Gotcha.
It was utterly underwhelming. And I remember going back to make the guide and looking at the stats, and I'm like, I don't understand why the hell this gun has such good stats, and yet it's just never been any good whenever I use it. So that was always a thing for me. And for that reason, I'm like, this is a trash gun, man.
It could have been the crunchy numbers stuff for sure.
I mean, that's almost for certain what it was. And because, that's something that Obsidian is just fundamentally good at. They crunch numbers really, really well. So, despite the fact that Fallout New Vegas has, it's the least well sold of all of the 3D Fallouts that have been made. Despite that fact, anybody who gets into it.
Is that true?
The last time I checked, I believe it has sold. No, 4
is more broadly appealing.
Well, 4 has more sales overall. It has sold way more copies. No. New Vegas is the most poorly sold of all the 3D Fallouts.
Oh, most poorly sold. Sorry, I heard best selling. Sorry.
No. I forget the numbers, but I think off the top of my head, I think New Vegas has something like 11. I don't know what that number is for units, like what the if it's 11, like million or whatever, but like it's 11, I think, for Fallout New Vegas, and it's 12 something for Fallout 3, and that's the low end of the scale. Because obviously, despite the fact that all the copies came back for Fallout 76, they still sold the first time. So that counts for how many times Fallout 76 initially sold. But there's a reason why the Fallout community in general is like, yes, New Vegas is really the best one in there, even with the flaws that it has in its own capacity, and it's because I think it writes out its own rules and it follows them rigorously to the letter. So
yeah, I think Sarge and I ended up becoming of the mind like because you too, we've experienced a lot of them, if not all of them. They all have their strong suits, and New Vegas is squarely in mechanic side, reward system, also narrative choice based kind of stuff. That's kind of where it lies. And also I guess story too. That could fall under narrative, I guess.
Arguably, I think that Fallout New Vegas probably sold the worst because it had the least advertising in comparison to the other games.
Yeah, possibly.
Because I remember TV spots and whatnot for Fallout 3. I saw, the huge amounts of advertising push, not to mention the way that the community was reaching an insane fever pitch that was spilling outside of the Fallout community for desire for Fallout 4. So just New Vegas was like really well received, and obviously was a bit of a mess whenever it initially released because of bugs.
Yeah.
But I just don't remember it getting an enormous marketing push. I could be wrong, but it's just what I seem to remember.
I was in trade school, I think, or about to go to trade school, like when it happened, and I barely remember like what the launch of it was like, because I was a late adopter of New Vegas.
Well done.
Yeah, a little fun fact about Caedo. I was in a position where I had a crap top and it would not run New Vegas very well at all. Like, I had to use so many graphic reduction mods to have it run at like 10 FPS. Like, there is no reason I should have been playing New Vegas on that thing, but I tried to make it work.
Oh my god. All right, well, as fun of a story as that is, I'm gonna take a step to the side, and I'm gonna move this discussion along about the uniques in New Vegas, and
we can take turns.
By far, my absolute favorite rifle in the game.
Oh,
full stop.
I see what we're doing.
This machine. I like something about the stripper clip in it.
Yep.
Is so satisfying.
The M1 ping. Everybody's got.
Yep. Yeah, just
that
exactly like whenever you
pain.
reload, it's like ting.
Yep.
Oh god, that's so good.
Yeah. Yep. I knew before you even said. like
there is one other rifle that I really enjoyed, but it just doesn't even come close to this machine. Oh my god.
Yeah. The funny part is like it's got kind of atrocious spread, but people look past that because of its style. Like,
I mean,
which is okay, to be fair.
The crazy part is that, like, despite the fact that it's unique, I don't believe that in the base game there was another model of that gun.
In the base game, there was not. There were actually a few weapons that are like that until Gunrunner's Arsenal came out.
Yeah, you see, I'm of two minds on the Gunrunner's Arsenal. On one hand, I love how many more guns it introduced.
Yes, same.
On the other hand, it kind of took the wind out of the sails of like exploring and collecting guns, because a lot of the stuff that was like worth exploring and collecting was like, hey, you like, this is a really kick-ass gun, but you gotta earn it. And then the Gunrunner's Arsenal came out, and a bunch of stuff that you had to earn was suddenly nerfed by like, oh no, just go buy it.
Yeah,
just go buy it. That's
it. Did not help that a luck build could just go to the casinos and get a crap ton of money.
Exactly.
Like
sure, you'll get kicked out.
If this was staged anywhere else in the Fallout universe, like, it would be kind of okay, because you'd still have to work up to it. I think, at least that's what I think about it. But because the casinos are just right there, you just go to the strip, gamble a bunch, boom, I have money for sleepy time. Now it's all over for everyone. Like,
exactly. And one thing that I will never forget is the amount of begging that I got. I got tons of begging to go back and do a Gunrunner's Arsenal guide. And I looked at it and I had to tell people over and over again, it's like, I'm not making a Gunrunner's Arsenal guide, because the whole point of the guides is how you get these guns. And saying, go buy it, is not fun. Okay? And I get it. Like, what people were probably looking for was like the whole setup sequence that I did, you know, where, because it was like, okay, well, I'm going to capture from multiple different angles using this gun. I'm going to edit together like a really cool sequence of taking out the gun, loading bullets into it, aiming the gun, and then you're going to get a really cool
I'm gonna send you a
shot
screenshot of
it.
how I did it. Like, you can sum up everything I did in the video just by a screenshot. The rest is the fluff you were just explaining.
Yep. So just, you know, like, I looked at it, I was like, I don't want to do just that. That is so boring to be like to just tell people to buy guns. But
you're telling me because I made the guide anyway.
Yeah, it just I think what people wanted was to just hear about the really cool guns and see the sequences that I put together.
Yeah,
but it just shut my brain off so much. I was like, you don't need me to tell you, go buy the gun.
It's I guess it could be like a buyer's guide kind of thing too. It's like, do I want this gun? How does it work kind of thing? Because you can't really test them, or you can't test drive the guns from the gunrunner's arsenal unless you're like using console commands or like, yeah. So
yeah, and I have to remember that, like, I've talked with a lot of people who play Fallout games, and they're like, I just don't know where to get the money from. The vendors are always like, they never have any money to trade with, you know? And I'm like, well, I guess I don't understand how people could have that attitude about it, where it's like, sell stuff to them and wait 24 hours or however long it was specifically. And of course, like, you can tell people to do that, but of course you're going to get some people who are like, that's so tedious, why can't it be easier? And they won't go about doing the thing that they need to do, and instead they'll just sit and complain about it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it also depends on time too, like how much time they think they have to commit to. Because I mean, sitting there and waiting, I don't know, the quality of your gameplay drops significantly if you're just trying to get money or get caps in a Fallout game.
I'll admit that. Like, for me, it's like, well, no, that's not a problem. I love doing that. So like, it like that, just, you make that argument to me, and it's just like, that's not a problem.
But
why the hell are you
again,
complaining
like
about
in
it?
New Vegas's case, if you're built for it, yeah, getting money is actually kind of fun on its own, because you can just go to the blackjack table and, you know, do a few hands and like, oh, surprise, surprise, I have a bazillion bottle caps and I got kicked out. So
yep, exactly. So
but you have to have the luck build for that to be, you know,
viable. Yeah,
more viable, because like if you're not built with luck, you're gonna go through a lot of caps and a lot of hands,
or you're gonna be doing, you know, the quick save option over and over and waiting for the the decks to reshuffle, and that's constantly.
That's just repetitive motions trying to get something you want. If you're doing that, just start pickpocketing people.
Pretty much.
Oh, speaking of, yeah, go to the Silver Rush and just, you know, move all the items into the bathroom and steal them.
I remembered covering that in one of my guides.
That's such a, anybody who hasn't played New Vegas or hasn't for a while, yeah, I hope that's helpful for somebody, because like that's one of the things that New Vegas and Fallout 3 let you pick up.
Fallout 3 works the same way.
Did Fallout 3 let you pick up vendor stuff without them thinking you're stealing? I believe
so. I think it's because they never actually fixed that in Oblivion. Like, what happened with Oblivion was if you grabbed something and you moved it at all, because like, God, that was the first time they put a physics engine into one of their games, and just stuff would randomly go flying off shelves and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I remember walking into a particular store, and like there was this bolt of cloth that just got annoyingly right in front of my feet, where I had to talk to the vendor, you know. And I was like, I'm just gonna fix that, and like, you hover your hand over it and it shows a red hand icon. Oh, that's gonna steal. And I'm like, it's not a problem, I'm just gonna pick it up and move it. I do that. The guy says,
guards,
oh, guards, you know, like he's freaking out because I'm moving the bolt of cloth back up onto the countertop.
That continued on to both Skyrim and Starfield too, unfortunately.
Did it? Because I remember it being, maybe they reverted it, but I seem to recall it was like, no, they toned that back in Fallout 3.
I wonder if they specifically addressed that in Fallout 3 because of the nature of that game. Because like the cities themselves even don't really have like proper guard or proper policing systems. Whereas their immediate response is to open fire on you instead of like starting arrest dialogue, as opposed to like, you know, you actually have a means of getting out of it once you get caught.
Yes.
So, but the something hilarious. I am segueing back into Starfield for a second. The steal mechanic, or the pickup items mechanic in stores and stuff like that, objects that aren't marked as inventory items are also considered owned sometimes, and it's infuriating. So,
what?
For example, there's a pillow on a couch in a shop. If you pick that pillow up, people will attack you. It's in one of my stupid clips that I have for the end of a video because it was the silliest bullcrap I had seen in a while. Because I was just like, I'm gonna just move this pillow, and then everybody starts opening fire at me in the industries place where what's his name, your benefactor, leads you, like where he goes to meet his wife, and I just went into one of the back offices and moved a pillow, and everybody opened fire on me. It was so
stupid. This is Starfield's version of killing a chicken in Riverwood.
Yeah, no, definitely like that. It's so funny and aggravating at the same time. But yeah, just a little side thing I wanted to mention. To go back into rifles, if we're on that mode still, can I share? Oh man, there's so many choices, dude.
There are some good choices, but I know 2 rifles out of that entire list that I'm like, no, this is where it's at, really. And I've said one of them, so.
Well, okay. In the class of the 223 or the that gun, which is one of my favorites also because it's referenced in the first 2 games as well. Like they brought that straight over from Fallout 1 and 2, and prior to that was a reference to Blade Runner. So like it's got a whole like family tree of existence. But in that same class is Rat Slayer, which is a varmint rifle that is automatically suppressed, automatically night vision scoped, and 5.56 is readily available. The same with the that gun. 5.56 is readily available all the time. And you can swap in like armor piercing or hollow point on the fly.
You know, I get it. Even though the varmint rifle and the Rat Slayer by extension are just they're so weak by comparison to a lot. Like I'm like, no, give me big numbers or give me like super fast firing
they're
speed.
Primarily for like, I consider them more anti-personnel weapons than like big stuff like elephant guns. Like I don't consider them that, but for their use case I like them a lot.
I mean, I can't argue with you because the Rat Slayer, I remember getting it the first time and thinking that it was really cool, but also realizing almost the moment that I looked at it that it was like, okay, but this doesn't even compare to like what I was already using type stuff. So like it was absolutely one of those guns where it's like, okay, I picked it up, I'm gonna use it a little bit, and then the next time that I'm at my safe house, it's going into storage and it's never coming back out. So
yeah,
you know,
I did want to make a mention of another one because since we were talking about cowboy builds, my Buckaroo build, once I had the medicine stick, I didn't use any other rifle.
Yeah, you see, the medicine stick is a really good example of why I can't stand the Gunrunner's arsenal, because I spent so much time explaining how to get your hands on a brush rifle.
A brush gun? Yeah.
Yeah. And immediately as soon as the Gunrunner's arsenal came out, there were a bunch of chads that would show up to that guide and just be like, oh, lol, just buy the medicine stick. You know? And it just, oh god, it bothered me. It was like, you know, twerps, I hate you.
You whippersnappers.
And it was attitudes like that were being shoved in my face, which was another component of why I was like, I'm not gonna make a video about the Gunrunner's arsenal. It's imbalanced the game. I don't like it. So
yeah,
you know, take it for what you will.
Yeah.
The other rifle that I really like, the only other rifle of the rifle list that I really like is the All-American, and I didn't even use it all that much.
That's one a lot of people mention like in my lists.
Just for the fact that like it has a really high fire rate, you know, like it's not a full out automatic. I think it's a semi-automatic assault rifle, but I just think that it's a really cool looking gun. You have to go through a lot of trouble to get it, and I think explaining how to get this gun and going through, what was it, Vault 7 or so, I don't even remember the name of the vault, the number of the vault, but I remember like having to explain how to get it, and that is a big component of what made it so satisfying. It was the fact that you didn't just find it, you found a bunch of stuff in the armory of that vault.
Oh yeah, and to mention
34, Vault 34.
Unique variant of the Marksman Carbine. Vault 34 is east of New Vegas.
Yep.
We've been pretty good about mentioning the locations of these, so yeah. Woo. Good job, us.
And I'll never forget having to warn people that it's like, check. I don't remember if I did warn people. The fact that it's like, yeah, be careful, your companion may pick this up the minute that you open the door, because they see it as the best weapon possible and they're trying to equip themselves better.
Oh, yeah.
So there's like so many people were coming through and saying, where the hell did the gun go? Like you said, I got there and it was gone. And
that,
it's like,
that same issue happens with the survivalist rifle in Honest Hearts. The white legs can pick it up.
You see, I always ended up finding that gun whenever I was alone. I would never go for it whenever I had a companion with me.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's another way to do it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's the spot where you get the pulse gun too, right?
I don't. What I remember is that it's inside of like basically a duffel bag. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was inside of a duffel bag next to the body of a guy. So.
When you talk about freaking use cases, like the pulse gun is like the extreme of that. It's like, because there's so unless you're like against Mr. House, like there's so few robots that you're gonna encounter in the Mojave.
Yes.
But when you do and you have a pulse gun, you'll destroy them. That's
oh my god.
One of those wild things. Yeah, I feel it was fair that we covered like two rifles each, because the most widely available
I think
is mostly rifles. Yeah.
I think insofar as like the weapons in New Vegas go, it basically stops at rifles. I can talk about shotguns, but beyond that, it's like
ballistic
I've got
rifles.
Oh well, yeah. Like beyond that, like I don't frankly remember New Vegas for its energy weapons and stuff. I remember it specifically for its ballistic rifles. It's not that there aren't interesting things in there. It's just
the theming lended itself to ballistic firearms.
The ballistics specifically.
Too much. Even,
yes.
Like the vibe, the radio, the fact that you're in a desert, the cowboy hats, the trench coats.
To say nothing of the factions that are fighting each other. Because in like Fallout 3, it's like, yeah, people in a bunch of freaking power armor are fighting each other. What are they going to use? Bullets, or are they going to use lasers? Well, I know which one sounds like it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And, so like for Fallout 3, I'm like, yeah, there are a lot of ballistic weapons in there. But even with my big gun playthrough, I'm like, no, vengeance. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Vengeance. There are a bunch of other guns, but vengeance is where it's at.
Yeah.
So like for that express reason, despite the fact that there are some really kick-ass energy weapons in New Vegas, I just don't think about them for the most part. I think about all the ballistics, and like that's just your pistols, your rifles, and your shotguns. Not to say that doing an explosives build in New Vegas wasn't kick ass, but
it's so much fun, dude. it's basically all the weapon types got, like, in spite of the next two categories, like I feel like the majority of the weapon types, like everybody had their play style respected in New Vegas.
Yes. Yes.
After my rant about like how Unarmed is treated by Bethesda Studios lately, each weapon had its like cool star weapon that you could jump in and get, and it would feel so much fun to use because it would often be way more power than you needed, but it didn't matter because it's awesome. And then of course Gunrunner's Arsenal, I mean, despite your disappointment with it, like that just added on top of that for power fantasy.
Absolutely. Like, and I get it. It's like, it's super powerful very easily. And the reason I hate that personally is because like I've done that so many times in games where it's like, I'm just going to cheat in the best stuff. And it gets boring within 30 minutes for me. Cause I'm like, well, there's nothing to do now. There's no there's no strength to gain. There's no ladder to climb. I'm master of the universe. Why the hell do I need to keep going? You know? So I try my best to remain in a humble position in most games that I play because it keeps me wanting to get better and like getting stuff the hard way is just very rewarding, you know? And it allows me to play a game longer. So
yeah. I was going to, I don't know. Do you feel like you have anything to mention for SMGs or shotguns?
Shotguns, yes. SMGs, no.
Okay.
Because they're just so rare for the most part.
They weren't. I mean, even before any DLCs, like we had 4. We had 4, which is not many SMGs, but the big guns, because guns was all one encompassing skill too. So the big guns and the rifles and the shotguns were all under that skill. So
I find it fascinating that the list marks the Gunrunner's arsenal as the only source of the 12.7 millimeter SMG.
I was actually curious about that too.
Well, I know that that's not true because I made a guide about handguns, and even though this technically is a two-handed weapon, I'll never forget that I put it in that guide.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Like it's not one-handed
in the legend.
It is available in the base game because it showed up in one of my guides before the Gunrunner's
arsenal. But the GRA version was added for the mod ability.
Yes, but like it's noteworthy to me that they don't mention the normal one.
So
which
that is a bit weird.
I think that there are at most like 2 copies of this gun in the Wasteland, which basically makes it a unique. Hence the reason why it went into a unique gun guide. But even then, it's like 12.7 millimeter is like super expensive and rare.
Yeah.
So like I never used it anyway.
After Honest Hearts, the White Legs use a lot.
So obviously, you know, you get a bit of a context there. It's like, oh yeah, like that's nice and everything, but not worth it if you were making your guides during, you know, base game days. So
yeah, which is always a struggle. I will agree that is frustrating, and also just living in a realm of, I was gonna do a Cyberpunk rant, but I'm gonna do it anyway. The lack of reward thing with Phantom Liberty adding the vendor that sells iconic weapons that you weren't able to pick up in the base game.
Oh wow!
That you missed.
Really?
Like that is one of the first. I want to say one of the first examples of that I've seen in a game, and I don't like it because it removes that reward as a reward completely.
You know, personally, I hear something like that, and I'm like, that's cool, but you know, it would be way better if you made it possible to just go and get the gun some other way, or like go back to where it was.
And CD Projekt Red's capable of that. That's the thing too.
Yeah.
Like they did that with some of the weapons. There was, it's one you get from. I am not in that mode right now.
It's fine. It's all Greek to me. I haven't played Cyberpunk, so.
Well, it does have like branching quest kind of things, especially when it comes to working with the like 3 or 4 like companion characters in the game. The X Factor quest for Judy, but Death and Taxes. This was added. This was a future-proof thing that I put in the Iconics guide because I made an Iconics guide, Uniques guide for Cyberpunk before all of the major patches happened. Big mistake on my part because they patched the hell out of Cyberpunk, including adding new stuff and stuff that was meant to be in the game, which included Death and Taxes because it was in the strategy guide but not in the game.
Oh.
So you can get this in Maiko's office at the Cloud's place, but that becomes locked out, or you become locked out of that place after you leave, if I remember correctly. And if that is the case, towards the end of the quest, if you side with Judy, she will actually send you a message and leave it for you in her office in her apartment.
Oh,
like,
well done.
They had this, so like that's what I said. Like they're capable of doing that, but they didn't do it in every case, and also added a vendor in a DLC that you have to pay for to get uniques that you missed. Which that's, with my emphasis, you understand there's many levels of my frustration with this.
Yeah, it's like I get it. I really do.
Welcome to the Cyberpunk Rants, listeners, by the way.
Just like my personal rule is, listen, like, do your best to make things not missable in games, whether that by, yeah, you can go back to the location, it'll be inconvenient, but it'll still be there. Or if the location becomes inaccessible for whatever reason, then the item moves to a new location, you know?
Yeah.
And it's still a challenge to get, but it's not necessarily... Basically, it's a lateral move. It's like, okay, well, the location is gone, but the item still exists, and now it's located here, and it's not any more or less difficult to get. You still have to do something for it.
Yeah.
So, I find that to be far preferable.
One of the main spots, the main like missable spots, is so incredibly early in the game. Like that could have been part of the reason, because the whole basically prologue of Cyberpunk is you performing a heist, and after that heist is complete, the Company Plaza building that you heist at is completely locked out to the player. But there's 2 uniques in the suite that you escape out of.
How nice. Wonderful.
Yeah, or sorry, 1 unique in the suite on the nightstand, which is very blatantly obvious. I don't know how you could really miss it unless you don't know how to investigate a bedroom. And the other one, it ends up in a like helicopter, like aircraft kind of thing that lands on the roof, like landing pad that is completely optional to go up to. So
how nice.
But like that's a clever way of hiding uniques though too. So like I don't know. I kind of go both directions on this one. Like if you miss it, that's more incentive to actually try another playthrough, I think, because it's also a game designed to make the player want to do more playthroughs already. But please don't add vendors like that with DLCs. Add them to the base game, because you patched so much in already. Why did you do this? That's directly at CD Projekt Red. Anyway, Cyberpunk rant aside, I like the dinner bell, which is the unique.
That's always such a good, like the hunting shotgun itself is so good in the base game. You know, just a pump action shotgun is remarkably good, especially given there's something about that, you know, like that sound is satisfying as all hell. So
yeah,
dinner bell was just, you know, mwah.
Yep. But this is one of those uniques that you really got to work for.
Yes,
and
yes it is.
Another one you have to kind of go all over the map, because Red Lucy is just like, I need eggs for more of my beasties to kill my competitors in the Thorn arena thing.
Yeah.
So she sends you to get mantis eggs in like Vault 22 or like there might be somewhere else, but like that's one of the places. And then moves up to, I think there's something else before Cazador eggs, but you get Rad Scorpion eggs, Cazador eggs, and then Deathclaw eggs. So you like,
yeah, like you are absolutely going through everything to get those eggs.
Yeah. And she, but she also flirts with you and offers a physical reward as well, which, you know, is a benefit on top of that, I suppose, for role-playing sense. So cool, but also shotgun.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The concept of, you know, like being able to warm Red Lucy's bed is nice and everything, but it's like, dude, it's a video game. It's whatever, you know, not that big of a deal to me. It's like, it's a little bit like the ability to marry any NPC in Skyrim.
Yeah,
I've never used it. Never even equipped the amulet to give it a try, because I'm like, I don't care. I'm here to adventure.
Well, I mean, you also know at that point, like the level of companion background that the game gives you, and there's very little that it's going to give you after that point if you commit to one in that way. So like I get it.
I had a friend who in Skyrim they couldn't help themselves. They wanted to marry someone all the time, every single character that they made. And any time that he walked into Breeze home in Whiterun, he was so annoyed because he married one of the NPCs at some point that had a quest. So every single time that you'd walk by her, she'd say, "Thank you for helping me with my problem."
Was it Mule the Lioness? Because
I don't even remember.
she also
who
has
it
her
was.
little dude friend that doesn't stop following her around, which is really funny too.
But just she would say that line every time he walked into the house, and it drove him nuts. And I was like, you know, you could just not marry any of the NPCs. And he gave me this look like I had lost my mind. I was like, okay, man, whatever. You do you. I don't see any.
Was he metagaming super hard and he's like, I need the lover's comfort bonus instead of the regular rested bonus? Was it that?
No, he wasn't.
That extra 5% XP.
He was so far away from being one of those people. So far away. He was an utter cash.
It's funny. I don't know. Role playing, you got to put up with the ball and chain, you know? That's I guess part of it, I suppose. I tend to play practically, so I don't.
Oh yeah, this is the same guy who like I have OCD, okay? So like whenever I have a player housing or something, I'm like, okay, this container is for this stuff, this container is for this stuff, this container is for this stuff. And I sort it all into separate, you know, where things are where they belong system. This guy was like, that chest is the closest one to the front door. Deposit all. Okay, I'm going back to it. So he couldn't find anything because he put everything, like
a single
potion,
deposit chest.
Ingredient. Yes, potion, ingredient, gold, weapon, armor, crafting materials, you name it, it all goes in the same chest. So
before we had categories and containers too. Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. So he's that's what he did. And like I for whatever reason, he had the game up and he had to get up and do something. I think he was doing a beer run or something. And while he was gone, I went into the chest and I started taking stuff out of it. And I was sorting it into different containers in his house. I was like, this is going to drive me nuts and I'm going to do this while he's gone.
That's funny.
And he finds out that I did it. And again, like he's not a hardcore enough. He doesn't care that I did this. Okay. That's what matters. Mm-hmm. He does not care that I did this. And he's like, oh, cool, whatever. And then I want to say about 5 days later, I get a phone call from him and he's like, dude, where did you put in my house? Because I need to find something and it's not all in the same chest anymore. And I had to explain to him my organization system.
It's filed away properly. What do you mean?
But yeah, that's a whole story for me.
Oh, the potions and reagents next to the potions and reagents thing?
Yeah. But what is it? For me, it's got to be the riot shotgun.
Yeah.
The riot shotgun is so valuable. Like I got intimately involved with shotguns whenever I did my explosives build because I knew that I wasn't going to have enough explosives for a while to actually rely on that. That and you don't always want to blow things up.
What
it's
do you
just
mean?
not the right thing to do in all situations.
In a game full of physics simulations, what do you mean?
I mean, physics simulations, tight corridors, there might be scenarios where it's not the best of ideas, you know? I got intimately involved with a lot of the weapons. Like, I'll never forget the amount of time that I spent with the Caravan shotgun. It is not a particularly good shotgun, but it got the job done for me, you know? And I think I used the single shot shotgun for a while as well. But just like I have so much appreciation for all of the shotguns, because I had to rely on them as a backup.
And I want to say the lever action, because the Caravan's not even lever action. Lever action shotgun is the only one that works with Cowboy.
Yes, lever action shotgun was my absolute best friend because the riot shotgun is one of those guns where it's like good luck finding one without like stealing it, basically.
Yeah, that's one of the higher end.
And I wasn't teched for it, you know, so I couldn't really reasonably, keeping the flow and the pace of the game series that I did, I could not reasonably get my hands on a riot shotgun without a lot of trouble. So I was like, I don't think that that's worth it. I need to just kind of make the best with whatever else. And because it's an end game weapon, by the time I'm at end game, it's like, well, I shouldn't really be relying on shotguns in the first place at this point. I should really be relying on like grenade rifles if I can at all help it.
But
so
Lanius becomes a little ragdoll baby when you have and stay back as a perk.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to take those perks because it wasn't a shotgun build.
Oh, okay.
Like the whole point of the build was to be exclusively explosive and put a very minimal number of points into guns just to keep pace when I had to use the shotguns.
Now I get it. Okay.
Basically up through the mid game, because once you hit mid game, you can get your hands on like the grenade rifles and everything, which there aren't a whole lot of.
Yeah.
So
I gotta
it's
say,
all about ammo with those.
Is it? It was Gunrunner's Arsenal that introduced the Mad Bomber perk, right?
I don't know.
Okay, well now I have to search it. Because Mad Bomber made explosives a bazillion times more fun. Yep. Yeah, tin grenades, fat mine, microfusion cell cluster, microfusion cell grenade, nuka grenade, time bomb high yield, bottle cap mine efficient.
Okay, so, and that was from the GRA?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like the GRA introducing craftable weapons was freaking beautiful, you know? And like that did help my explosives build
That's
a
the
whole
only
lot.
perk it added to, by the way. I had to check.
Like it made it so freaking cool. But at the exact same time, my main focus was just the ability. Like I remember making a lot of tin grenades at the start of the game. Like a fair number of them whenever I wasn't, like relying on dynamite. But I also remember there was a glorious episode that I had to work so hard to plan out so that it worked properly, but it was the Quarry Junction episode. Because I was like, I'm going to get into Quarry Junction. I have all of the equipment. It's just a challenge of actually doing it properly because I have to set traps. You cannot one-shot a death claw because of how difficult they are, you know?
Yeah. Did you hit the there's a spawn trigger for the alpha too, which is, I don't know if you've noticed this, the amount of times you've played through the quarry, but sometimes he just spawns behind you.
He never spawned behind me. And it was specifically because what I was doing was a long range, like I would sneak up relatively close. I would put 1 or 2 C4 down and then put a bottle cap mine on top of it.
Yeah.
And then I would
Classic.
sneak back and try to make certain that they would run directly at me. And I would use VATS to explode them 2, maybe 3 times if I was lucky. And then they would hit the trap and they would die when they hit the trap.
Yeah.
Like that was the entire setup for it. So nothing spawned behind me because I was pulling them so carefully. But the alpha was definitely the one where I set up 2 separate traps because I was like, I don't know that this first one's going to kill him. So I'm going to set up this first one. I'm going to set up a second one. And then I'm going to get as many shots in and I'm going to just freaking run and hope that he hits both. So if I remember correctly, that's how it went. Anybody could go back and watch the series to find out.
Yeah.
So
What's the name
it's
of that
titled Quarry
series?
Junction. Oh, Fallout New Vegas playthrough.
No, I mean, did you have a name for your like character build or playthrough or something, or is it just
No, it was just Fallout New Vegas.
okay? Yeah. Strife's got his New Vegas playthrough. I've got my Buckaroo New Vegas playthrough, which is very clearly a cowboy build with me doing a garbage Southern accent.
All right, so in interest of brevity, because we've gone on for a while, I'm going to suggest that we move on to the next topic.
Let's do a quick, like, all-encompassing energy weapons thing because.
Okay, no explanations, just this is what I like.
Yes.
How's that? Okay, cool. Because like we will be here for another hour, and I have other stuff that I got to get done.
But it's fun.
Yeah, I have responsibilities outside of the house that I actually have to get to today. So I have to be mindful of that.
Okay, well, I will go with Elijah's Advanced Layer. It's a fragile gun, but once you put the mods on it, it's absurd because it multiplies the beams, but it doesn't split them. Like the beam splitter does for the other one. I think that's how it works.
Yes. Yes.
So while it's still fragile and it will break on you pretty quickly, it's so much power coming out of it.
I think the fragility is what turned me off of it so much. For me, the Q35 matter modulator was where it was at, and I think it's mostly just the paint job, because it's just a plasma rifle. That's all that it is. It's a plasma rifle with a fancy paint job on it. And for some reason, I was just like, I don't know, man. This is really cool. This is really, really cool. And the base weapons always appeal to me more because I've spent more time with them than I have with any of the DLC weapons. So
yeah. Well, okay. So Elijah's Advanced Layer is one of those rares or finite number of 2 weapons in Old World Blues, but one's on the roof of the Signal Hills transmitter, right next to the prismatic lens, which gives it the stupid upgrade. So you can get the gun and the upgrade in the same place, basically, which is probably what I recommended in the guide that I did. And the Q35 matter modulator, which is a super awesome plasma rifle, is at RepCon headquarters south of New Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember going through the guide for that. The YCS 186 is also a lot of fun.
It is. But the prerequisite means you have to build your character one way or another, basically.
Isn't that the situation with Wild Wasteland?
Yeah.
If you get the Wild Wasteland, you get one, but...
Yeah, if you get Wild Wasteland, you get the Alien Blaster. If you don't have Wild Wasteland, you get the YCS.
Yeah, and I think overall, like, Wild Wasteland was just like, I don't know, man. It's not really all that interesting.
It's fun for one go, I think.
Yeah. I will give a shout out to the Euclid Sea Finder. Like, one of the most wholly useless weapons in the game because of how long it takes to trigger, and its damage is underperforming at best.
Yes.
But really cool as an idea.
It's all spectacle, and I dig it too. Because even if it doesn't kill stuff, like, it'll ragdoll them too.
Like, I love the fact that when I did my playthrough, I specifically got Euclid Sea Finder after setting up Helios 1, you know?
Yeah.
But I set up Helios 1 first, and then I got the Sea Finder. And Veronica was with me at the time. So I get this gun off of the kid, and she says, "Oh, it's a good thing that the safety was on that thing." Just, it's like, clever way of working.
Dude, yeah. So, like, the ones we've been talking about too, often, like, most of them have had some kind of unique, like, backstory or extra context to their existence, which is sorely lacking in other Fallout games too. Like Euclid Sea Finder, for example, not only is it connected to Helios 1, like one of the bigger locations in the Mojave, but also it's an objective for Veronica's, technology quest. It's like one of the 3 things you can go for. And yeah, it's just on a kid running around
like
playing laser guns with his little friend in Freeside. So funny.
It's just like, bang, bang, I shoot you. No, get away from me. It's like he's doing that the whole time. Yep. It's like, no freaking clue.
Yep.
That's some of the brilliant writing that I love in that game.
Really funny. So explosives we kind of glossed over already. I had a major affinity for the grenade rifles, and Mercy, the grenade and machine gun. But something I noticed that's a bug in New Vegas is sometimes, especially the 40mm grenade explosions, don't always register. Like, you get the visual, but it doesn't do damage, which really put me off those weapons occasionally. Which sucks because a grenade machine gun is really fun to use. But I
remember swapping to it specifically in those oh no moments.
Yeah, I wanted to go to, like, the very bottom, of course, of the actual weapons in the game, which is unarmed, because unarmed players ate really well with New Vegas.
I remember
one of my favoriteest things in the Fallout series is this game has the most unarmed weapons or fist-based weapons in any Fallout game.
God, what was the fist weapon that I'm thinking of?
You can describe it to me, and I can tell you which one immediately.
I could, but it's a whole lot more fun to look through the list.
Okay.
It's got a shotgun on it.
Oh, Ballistic Fist.
The Ballistic Fist. There you go. That's the one.
Yeah.
I just, it's right there at the top. No wonder
it's the strongest one.
Yes. I remember getting my hands on the Ballistic Fist and being like, I haven't even teched for this, and it's freaking ripping things to shreds. I can only imagine, you know? And you're right. Like, unarmed builds absolutely ate amazingly well in New Vegas. And that was one of the funner things that I didn't expect to enjoy, researching the fist weapons whenever I was doing guides for the DLCs. Because like I didn't categorize weapons. I was like, no, like there's not enough weapons in these individual DLCs to do separate guides. Otherwise, I'll just do all of the guns from each of the DLCs, and I don't want to do that. So I had to be like very selective about what to include. And man, the fist weapons, especially from Sierra Madre. I had a lot of fun with that.
The bear trap fist.
But yeah, the bear trap fist and stuff like that. But just, God, it was so good. Like the superheated fists, the number of ways that you could take a Saturnite fist and modify it in Old World Blues. So good. So good. Yep. Very tasty.
Yeah. Also the melee weapons. I should mention at least one melee weapon, because otherwise somebody's going to come up in the comments and be like, I'm coming to the cast because you didn't talk about melee weapons. I'm going to rant at you about it. So I'll bring up Nuka Breaker, because not only is this a powerful melee weapon, but it is also a reference to one of the best fan-made series of Fallout probably ever.
Oh yeah, that's right, Nuka Break. I haven't thought about that in years.
Yeah, they found out about it. Obsidian found out about it, and they were just like, yeah, let's make a little nod to them. They're doing good work. Unfortunately, it's a bad executive bullcrap happened to them too, so they're not really existing anymore, but they made a good show to begin with, so Nuka Break is still good.
I mean, is it still out there, or did it have to get taken down?
No, it's still out there. I think it's on Geek and Sundry's channel. I think they re-released it.
Okay then. Well,
but
for me, in regards to melee weapons, which is something that I never really messed with, it comes down to the bumper sword, and the X2 antenna. Like it's just those two, full stop, because those are the two that I've really got the most experience with. I remember the first time I saw a bumper sword, I was like, oh my god, I found the best thing ever. And then like a bunch of other super mutants had it on them, and I was like, okay, maybe this isn't as amazing.
Is it because you got to be Cloud in Fallout?
No, not at all.
All right.
Not at all.
All right. Your tone's confusing, but that's my headcanon.
It's the fact that the bumper sword, like, it's just so obvious that it is made out of bumper and it has a license plate on it. That's just like something so, like, I never would have thought of that. That is a really cool thing. But then, like, it turns out it's really no good if you haven't teched into the ability. So it was like more for the aesthetic design of it. Yeah. And then, of course, who doesn't like smashing enemies to bits with an enormous antenna?
Yeah. Yeah, conceptually
like that was just cool.
Yeah, that was just goofy and I mean fits Old World Blues to a T.
Yes.
So, which is why they made it a main objective, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh, I didn't mention the unarmed I like a lot. Pushy is my usual go-to a lot. But a lot of them, so many of them are just so much fun to use. But Pushy is the unique displacer glove.
Yes.
That you get in one of the mines. It's been out of my brain for too long. I don't remember the location. What am I doing?
Ruby Hill Mine. Jacobstown.
Thank you. But yeah, the displacer gloves were designed as like sound wave emitter gloves, where like they emit such a high frequency sound wave that they blast people back, and just the concept of that was cool to me.
I mean, I like the
look.
I like the visual style of it, where it's like, yeah, you have a speaker on your fist.
Yeah, it's just great.
A lot of fun.
Bumper swords are on Nightkin, Repcon.
Yes.
Yes.
Repcon. Yeah, I guess they were at Repcon. I encountered them on the mountain where you find Raul. So.
Oh yeah, not Big Mountain. Black Mountain.
Maybe it was Black Mountain. I don't remember the name of it, but that's the first place where I saw the Nightkin in the game. Mm-hmm. So that's where it's locked in my memory.
And the Nuka Breaker is a Gunrunner's Arsenal unique, so it's sold at Mick and Ralph's.
Yes,
Freeside.
Gunrunner's Arsenal unique, which obviously means the Gunrunners do not sell it.
Yeah. Yep. There's that screenshot again, showing its head. But yeah, that I think we can call it there for the main topic. I think we made good use of the uniques discussion. I think.
Yes.
And it was rants aside too. Like we kind of maintain the New Vegas topic too, which is good.
Kind of, except for all those rants. But anyways, not talking about Starfield or Fallout 4. Not doing it. Okay, so you lead next.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask you first, actually. What have you been working on and or playing?
I have been working on videos and stuff, and I'm not saying what they are. So
okay,
haha, you know, sometimes your artistic projects need to remain under wraps. And actually, what I've been working on lately that is like the long-term project is that I try to get one full season of Minecraft content out because I have a more story-driven Minecraft thing that I do. I try to do that once a year. I did not make it last year because I was gearing up for Starfield, and then we all know what happened with Starfield. Mm-hmm. Now, what I'm doing on the back end is basically a whole bunch of world building, and I mean that in like the literal block by block sense in Minecraft. Like I'm essentially building world sets and whatnot for a series that's supposed to be out this year. I don't know when exactly it's going to happen, but yeah, that's what I've been working on in the pit. That's what I've been working on. For anybody who's curious about upcoming stuff from me, if you know who I am anyway. And I've got a couple of other things that are up in my channel and worth watching if you're curious there. I don't remember what I've released and what I haven't released. So,
okay,
I publish and I forget these days.
Well, you did have a little rant about the settlements in Fallout 4 too.
I did have a rant about the settlements. One. Well, that was just because of the Gamer article that somehow managed to. Like, when I realized when I saw that going around on social media, and it's always just a screenshot of the article in the headline, it doesn't get into anything. So I was like, I could probably dig into this topic just because it's somewhat relevant right now.
Yeah.
So as for games that I've just been playing on stream, I've been doing FF7 Rebirth, which is a long game. Holy crap.
Oh, it's so good though.
I'm not gonna say it's bad, but my god, is it long.
Oh yes.
Oh, it's so long. I'm playing it at 3-hour clips,
Oh, it's gonna take you a while, dude.
That's what I mean. And it's like, there's the Mario the 1,000-Year Door that came out. I don't think it was a remake. I think maybe it was a remake. I don't know if it was a remake or a remaster. Bit of a difference between those two.
Are you doing like any of the like side stuff off stream, or are you doing it all on stream?
I'm doing as much side stuff off stream as I can, but like I have to stop whenever I stop streaming, and it's like, well, I don't know if I'm in a spot where I can do the off stream stuff. It's like whenever you get into the new area, and it's like there are a million little dots on the screen
for the map
that'll show you for the map area. Like I'm trying to do as much of that off screen as I can, but I have to stop at the right time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I can't do anything now. That's where I am this week.
Well,
I can't play this in my off time.
I will mention all the hunt ones, all the ones where you're working for Chadley, taking out specific monsters. Those ones are kind of stay benign throughout the whole thing. So
okay.
Like if you had missed any of those, I do recommend those because they have good material rewards once you go back to Chadley. So
yes. So I try to get all of those beads filled out, So, and it's basically like I want to do them off screen, but ultimately I won't forgive myself if I don't do them. So if I'm streaming and I haven't done them before the next story bit, it's like, well, that's what we're going to do today.
But
so
I will mention too that you can go back to other zones. Like it's not linear in that way like Remake was. You can actually go back to other zones, which is nice.
Anyways, so that's what I'm doing on my stream. Like my next game is going to be Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, but
someday.
It'll be someday. Like I have to run out and grab my copy today. Like I meant to get it this month specifically for budgeting reasons, and today's my last day to run out and grab it. So I have a limited amount of time to get that done before I have to head into work. And the other game that I am playing, because you cannot always play FF7 Rebirth because you're streaming it, is a little indie title called Dread Delusion. Have you heard of this game?
I have not. I'm going to look it up right now.
This came out in the middle of May, so it's a pretty new game. This is basically Morrowind with the serial numbers filed off.
Really?
That is the overarching feel that it has.
Oh, I see the mushrooms already.
It is a high fantasy world. It is built in a retro graphics aesthetic, so it looks like a N64. Yeah, this is like an N64 PlayStation 1 aesthetic. Like if you've ever seen a PS1 game, you know how like the three-dimensional models kind of wiggle around a little bit. It's because there was not a dedicated like chip in the there was no dedicated system to solve for modeling the 3D objects on a PlayStation. You basically had to do it software every single time. And that's the reason or that's my understanding for the reason why things wiggle around kind of whenever like the camera rotates on a PlayStation 1 game. So it's doing that whole thing where it's like, yeah, they're kind of wobbly, weird with the way that like three-dimensional drawing happens and everything. But it is a deep fantasy. Ooh. Because you know, it's and it does it right, because like it has this opening where it's like, hey, there are factions in the game, and it briefly mentions them, and it doesn't really get into too much detail. But you start as a prisoner, okay, who is being released.
Interesting.
Because reasons. And so it takes place on a series of floating islands, and there's like evidently a world below that is uninhabitable, but you can still head to. That's or so it has led me to believe that you can still head to it. And the broad strokes like history that I've learned that precedes the story that you're in the middle of is really, really fascinating. Like you're a prisoner and you're being let go, and you very shortly after understand that you're a prisoner of the Inquisition. Oh, okay, cool. What the hell is the Inquisition? What did they do? Oh, we were the ones that killed the gods. I was like, say again? There's something called the God War? Tell me more about this. You know, so it's one of those situations where like the more that you enter, like it's all text-based. There's very little voice acting that's been done.
So the game the dialogue is text-based, to be clear, because there is visuals.
Pretty much all the dialogue is text-based. You go up to someone, you click on them, and it's like, yeah, there will be an entire dialogue tree that's very familiar if you've played an Elder Scrolls game. But there's like no voice acting for it, which might be a step too far for some people. But I'm loving it. I'm loving it, and it's because the world is so weird. It does not have the classic like Elder Scrolls, jump a whole bunch of times and you level up acrobatics. It is a level up system where you can find collectibles in the world that will give you points, or you get points to spend based on how many quests you complete. So it also does not have the you can loot everything off of a corpse system. So that's not available, which is a really big pull. And like, I know saying that, oh, it's Morrowind with the serial numbers filed off would lead you to believe that that's there. I want to be entirely clear. It's like, no, you can't loot everything. There's a very limited, like it's more like Doom in how you find things just kind of sitting around in the world. It's a big like floating object. It's very clear you can pick this up.
Floating power up kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of that, except it's like, no, you can find, potions sitting around the world, coins, you know, lockpicks, etc. That's how you find it. But also, there are plants that you can walk up to and you can just harvest the stuff off of them.
Okay.
And the plants will eventually regrow. So
it's a little bit of everything, is what you're saying.
Little bit of everything. It's not going as hard in on like the you know, individual items all over the place as a Bethesda game does, which is a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
But I'm fine. Like I'm enjoying it nonetheless. And I like the whole concept of like the various civilizations is fascinating, because evidently there's a region where people are incapable of dying. So, you know, it's like you can go live there and you'll just live as a normal person until you die, at which point you won't die, but you'll start rotting because you're a walking corpse, you know? And like evidently, you know, living people never wanted to go there, but the undead.
The logic of immortality in a Xena Warrior Princess episode I watched actually recently,
I guess. I mean, what fascinates me about the undead realm is that evidently, you know, living people would never go there, because it's like, no, the undead, they have a hunger. They want to feast upon flesh. So living people don't go there. But when the game takes place, they have, within recent history, reformed themselves because they've discovered how to cultivate flesh plants. So it's like, yeah, they're undead, but they have a way to feed their hunger without having to resort to eating people. So
that's weird and cool, though.
It's civilized. Meanwhile, there's another kingdom where it's like, yeah, this is the clockwork, the clockwork city, you know, very like reminiscent of Sothasil from Morrowind. And it's like, yeah, you would expect them to be totally normal, but something's gone haywire and they just attack everybody. You don't want to go there type situation. So there's a very unique, you know, like background and setup for the whole entire system where it's like, I want to explore, I want to go out, I want to find out more about this stuff, because this is interesting, you know. I will say it like loses points for its audio engineering. Like if you ever walked near a house that has a wind chime in it, you will begin to hate wind chimes. Because it's like one sound file for wind chimes that triggers like every 5 seconds.
Oh boy.
And you'll sit there for like an hour talking to an NPC with just the same wind chime next to you.
So a game that sometimes you may want to turn down the audio or turn down the sound effects.
And you can't bring up the pause menu when you're in a discussion screen. So it's like, I hope you have a freaking volume knob to pull on. What was the other thing? It's got like one music track that I've experienced so far. I'm still basically in the starting area. I'm out of the tutorial, but I'm still in like the first area they drop you in, and it's like, yeah, there's plenty of place here, but we've got one music track and it just endlessly plays. God. So it's like, okay, I get that you're trying to be retro, but some of this stuff, no, you shouldn't have done that. Like, you should have left that retro in the past. So, but yes, Dread Delusion. If you love, you know, older style RPGs from like the PlayStation 1 or like Xbox One, Xbox original era, you know, then I hardly say give it a shot.
Well, I've wishlisted yet another RPG. Thank you.
That you almost for certain will never get around to, because your backlog is already huge.
Yep, and I have at least, I want to say 3 that are newly in my library this month, and I haven't played any of them.
Yep, that's a standard experience. All right, that's everything for me. Yep. What about you?
Yep. Oh man. Okay. Well, I tell you what, I haven't played Hellblade 2 yet.
God.
But I have made when Sarge was telling, I was the first one to flake, by the way, last weekend. But when Sarge was telling me he wouldn't be able to make it to the PIPCAST, I was like, well, I am going to finish this Fallout 4 tips thing. So the next gen tips went up for Fallout 4. It did exceptionally well. I plugged it over on the community poster thing of the PIPCAST 3000 channel, which is where you might be listening to this. And it's done insanely well, as I had mentioned when we were conversing generally about stuff in this episode. Also did a couple real life things a little bit more. If you consider going to a movie theater a real life thing, we went to see Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. I think that's the full.
I've heard incredibly good things about that, despite the way the weekend numbers turned out.
Yeah, well, that's just how things kind of are now for going to movie theaters, because everything was, upturned in 2020 for going to public venues for stuff.
Yeah.
But I will say, Furiosa, we enjoyed it. It's quite a bit more, I want to say, intimate than Fury Road. Like, because Fury Road, it's hard to top that movie. I'm going to say that straight out. It's hard to top Fury Road. However, as like a part of like Furiosa's story, the prequel kind of thing, this fits in nicely. And also, if you played the Mad Max video game, you might see a familiar face or see a familiar character or get the vibe from a familiar character. That's all I'm going to say about it. There are at least two. It's good, is what I'm saying. It's good. Also, Chris Hemsworth does a great insane villain. He kind of stole the show whenever he was on screen. He he knocked it out. So yeah, I just want to kind of leave it at that, so you can go discover it on your own and maybe go to a movie theater and support that industry, so we can still go to movie theaters in the future, in the next decade maybe, because like the movie theater we're going to, we were 2 out of 4 people multiple times we've gone to that theater. So
You were 2 out of 4 people in the theater?
Yep.
Man, that feels very similar. Except the last time that I went to a film, which I believe was The Last Voyage of the Demeter, I had to deal with teenagers that had decided to sneak into the theater and they wouldn't shut the hell up. They walked into the theater for the express. They walked into the theater for the express purpose to waste time and to just be away from the house, obviously. And all they did was scream and shout in the back of the theater. I am embodying my age at this point.
Speaking
I'm
of,
my cane.
we also went to the zoo. Less teenagers, more just busloads of kids that showed up to check out the animals. And I mean, generally, the zoo is big enough to where you can avoid most of the crowds of children, which we did. And we also had a really good time because it was a nice day. I shared some photos in my Discord server. If any of you are in the Discord server, it's in the image spam chat.
Sounds like fun.
But yeah, we got to see the seals and the elephants and many different birds, and the bears were being goofy. One of them, the polar bear, was taking a nap in a big old tub and like tipped over, so the tub is like sideways.
God,
it's an adorable picture. I'll actually send it to you, Will, because it's probably one of my favorites. But
man,
we just had a good time. It was the neighbor like brought up the idea, I think last week. He was just like, yeah, I want to go to the zoo, but I don't really have anybody to go with, and if I'm going by myself, there's no real fun in that. I'm like, dude, let's freaking go. Let's go to the zoo. So
you just kind of went with your neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah, me, Kite, and the neighbor went to the zoo, and we had a great time. And I actually gotta go get my thumb drive from him today because I combined me and Kite's photos that we took together and gave them to him so he could save them too.
That is indeed a sleeping polar bear.
Yeah, it's adorable. Because like the whole thing's tipped over that he was sleeping in. It's just great. So that's kind of what we did. But man, this is one of the longer run times of a PIPCAST, so I'm gonna cut it off here. Thank you everybody for watching and or listening to the PIPCAST 3000. Again, if you're on the Spotify side, I hope our descriptions were enough. If you need more descriptors, please let us know in the Spotify for podcasters section within the first week of uploading. It's weird. I still don't understand how it works. If you're on the YouTube side or either one, become a comment of the cast by engaging. That's the best way to do that. And thank you, Will, for joining me and filling in for Sarge while he's been down and out. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem.
And where can people find you? That's something I should
you can find me over on twitch.tv/WilliamStrife, or you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com is it slash at?
Is it?
I think it's slash at. Will Strife. So
Yes.
yeah, there are your two options.
Yeah. Thank you to the Wasteland Legends, Sven and Rose, and the rest of the patrons on screen probably right now. And I hope you all take care of yourselves. Catch you in the next PIPCAST 3000 every other Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific. Bye-bye.